Oh, remember I said I'd be streaming today? Well, that's not actually happening because I only got home extremely late today, and then I still had to take care of the eardrops and the various selves. So yeah. So here we are. Welcome back to Wild Up. My name's Beast. And we're back with Hatsumira now that I'm done with the sneak peek into into the Fault series that was offered to me. And yeah, we're gonna keep it short today since it is late already, and I'm tired and did not sleep particularly well, especially since I was woken up at 10, which is quite early for my personal standards, to basically bring a bunch of cut grass and branches to the collection site for that kind of trash. And it was surprisingly hot outside, so yeah, tired. The rest of the day I just spent hanging out with a friend of mine who's back in town, so that's always nice. Either way, let's just get on with this 92, 93,
No, 一郎よ。
94. What?
わざわざ私を呼び出した用事というのはこれか?
Is she sitting on top of his back? What do you mean this?
だから私は腕立て伏せの重しとして呼ばれたのか?
Oh, please, don't even try to act like you're not into this, Yukikaze. Anyways, rage. Unbridled rage, even. Anyways. No, I have a reason. 96!
でもなんじゃ用があるなら早う済ませ
I wouldn't really call it business. I just felt 97 that I haven't had many opportunities to talk to you lately.
私と世間話がしたかったと?
Yep. 98! Or are you too busy?
そうは言わんがならば普通にそう言えばよかろう。いきなり腕立ての重しになれでは面食らうであろうが。
It doesn't matter what position we're in when we're flapping our gums, does it? Might as well get some training done while we gab.
どうした?もう限界か。
99?
でも頑張るのして。何の話をするつもりじゃ? 金か?それとも女か?
What type of bloke do you take me for?
お前が私の機嫌を取ろうとするときは決まって金か女で困ったときじゃ。
Stop taking the piss. It's not funny.
なんじゃろうな。日頃鼻持ちならん男が私の下ではぁはぁ言っておると気分になってくるわい。
See? I told you! She's into it! What happened with the ship we pulled up from the seas of Akura before?
いつまでも海にプカプカと浮かべておくわけにもいかんからの。牽引船体を結成して移動させた。今は西側海岸の岩場に接岸して自走網で隠しておる。
It's a matter of time until it's found, though. You can only hide a huge ship like that for so
あれが
long.
動けぬまま標的にされれば沿岸部や港湾部にも迷惑をかけることになる。なるべく早めに移動させたいところではあるのだがな。
Does it look like we can use it?
名護の調査では保存状態に問題はないらしい。磁気単極子とか言ったか?手動力源も壊れてはおらんらしいが、何せ古いものじゃからの。いきなり火を入れるわけにもいかんそうじゃ。
That incident with the wireless radio must have taught Nago a lesson or two about tinkering with unfamiliar
も
technology.
しあれが伝承にある星の船であれば、夜空に浮かぶ星まで行けるような船じゃ。その出力を思えば、うかつな真似もできんじゃろうって。何にせよ、動力機に火を入れるには、まだもう少し時間がかかるし、火を入れてからが面倒だという話じゃ。
Once it's mobilized, it should be able to carry about 600 troops, isn't that right? We could use it as a mobile base on the front lines. Wouldn't have to worry about medical facilities or drinking water anymore at the very least. Could give the lads a big lift.
急がせてはおるが、何せ最近では何かとなごなごと、断るごとになごに押し付けておるからの。
I know that we're giving her a lot of work to do, but she's the only one we can ask.
そう思えば、私が奴をギリギリまで城に押しとどめて呼び寄せなんだ理由も理解できよう。
Because she's
そ
annoying.
れは否定せんがな。じゃが、全体を見て流れを決めるのが私の仕事じゃ。
I gotta be the captain of the ship when it's mobilized.
いや、他の者に譲るつもりじゃ。艦長は宗剣、副長は七尾、操縦はペトラに任せようと思っておる。
Unexpected. I'm sure you were gonna dedicate yourself to the job of polishing the plush chair, the bridge with your arse. I'm sure old Linjin would prefer you at the helm
この
too.
手の人事というものはいろいろと難しいのじゃ。どんな椅子にも座りたがるお姫様と思われても面倒じゃしの。
I get what you mean, but
おお、噂をすればというやつじゃ。名護ではないか。
すみません。お邪魔しましたっす。
おい、こら待たんか。どこへ行くのじゃ。
大丈夫っす。私は何も見てないし、誰にも言わないっすよ。
何の話じゃ。
before you try explaining yourself or try ignoring her, could you get off my bloody back?
おお。
I see what the issue is.
出直してくるっす。
一郎の鍛錬に付き合うておっただけじゃ。その必要はない。
何かこう、盗作的なその手のプレイではなくて？
その話はもうよい。何か用があってきたのじゃろ。
はい。例の戦艦の話っすけど、とりあえず、なんとか浮上させることはできたっす。
Does that mean unnecessary repairs of the propulsion system have been finished?
いえ、浮上するための機関と推進するための機関は別っすから。とりあえず浮くことができるようになったってだけで、まだ水平方向への移動は無理っす。
なんじゃ、浮かぶだけか。それでは風船と変わらんではないか。
推進装置を動かすには燃料がいるんすよ。燃料は今、船に残っていたものを参考に研究室で分析中っす。
浮かぶことができるのであれば、いっそ牽引で丘に上げてしまった方が隠しやすいのではないか。
それはそうなんすけど、海辺の方がゾンビ鉱山からの補修物資も回路で運びやすいんすよね。
How long do you think it'll take before it can be mobilized?
まあ、問題は燃料っすね。推進機の燃焼試験ぐらいなら、研究所で作った分の燃料だけでも可能っすけど、本格的に動かすとなると全然量が足りないっす。
燃料に関しては考えておる。ほれ、第一小隊がエストポリアで奪取したヴィスラの油田基地があろう。そこで燃料を生成し、回路で運ぶ手はずじゃ。
But I heard that the Espolia front line has devolved into a battle of attrition because of the fall of Cordia cut off our supply lines.
近いうちにこちらから偵察を送り、現状を把握してから増援を送り出す予定じゃ。
Best act sharpish then.
燃料がなければ何もできんというわけでもあるまい。船体の回収は進んでおるのじゃろ。
そうっすね。船体表面の腐食や汚濁は除去が終わって、塗装作業に入ってるっすよ。
You're painting it?
そりゃそうっすよ。アルミ倉庫を剥き出しってのも味気ないですし。
I don't recommend it. How much extra dead weight do you think all that paint is gonna add? Anything designed to fly has to be as light as possible. Every gram counts.
でももう下地の塗装は始まっちゃってるっすよ。
ともかく、途中経過を見に行っておくかの。
One of the biggest problems with vehicles like aircrafts and tanks is that they're relatively easy to spot by the enemy. That's why they are usually treated with camouflage or low visibility paint. The upper surface of planes are usually painted the colors of the terrain below, while the bottom is painted in light blue or gray. This is to make it more difficult to spot both from the ground and from above in the air. After first contact is made, though, and proper combat begins, camouflage paint makes little difference. That's why. Then why are aircraft still painted at all? Paint also serves to smooth the surfaces of the wings and the fuselage by covering small bumps and dips in the body, and effectively leveling the heads of the rivets used in the construction of the plane. This reduces air resistance and contributes to the maximum speed of the aircraft, as well as increasing the structural integrity of the machine ever so slightly. I can't imagine any minor bumps and dips having much effect on this humongous thing. Has bugger all point in painting it camouflage.
おお、また随分と綺麗になったではないか。
研究室のものだけではどうしても手が回らないんで、いろんな部隊に手伝ってもらってるっす。
おや、一郎さん、それに姫様も。ご視察でありますか。
Alright, what are you doing here?
私は現場監督とでも言いますか、作業の進行管理をしております。
順調なようではないか。
はい。今は船体の下地処理が終わって、本塗りのための色をどうするか検討しておる最中であります。姫様は何色がよろしいですか。
Unlimited paint, that will only make it heavier. It simply needs to be cleaned to get rid of all the extra weight that dirt and rust adds, then coat it in something that'll reduce drag.
いえ、しかし。
そう、ケンケン言うものではない。塗ってしまったものは仕方がなかろう。
ですよね。姫様のお乗りになる機関であることを示すために、ノーズアートも入れますよ。
ノーズアートじゃと？
完成はこのようなものになります。
なんじゃこれは。
我が隊のゾンデラスコがこういうの得意なんですよ。これを選手に入れれば兵の士気も上がりましょう。
このような下劣なものを敵の眼前にさらすつもりか。恥さらし以外の何者でもないわ。今すぐやめさせい。
おーい、もう塗らなくていいんだってよ。
もう書いちまったっすよ。
もう書いてしまったそうなのですが、塗りつぶしますか。
Don't, that'll only make it even heavier.
バカな。
Stop your whinging, there's nothing we can do now that they've already painted it. I think it's a jolly fine piece of art. Zodai, you're a proper boatman, aren't you, mate?
あざーす。
Having a close look at that nose art, there seems to be something written around it. Have you already named the ship?
おお。
That's great, but how do you pronounce it?
あれはじゃな。アルムアケイドと読むのじゃ。
Oh, what's that mean?
アルムアケイドというのはの、竜族に古くから伝わる古代語で、死んでも負けないという意味じゃ。かつて戦場へ向かう竜族の戦士が仲間とエンジンを組み、アルムアケイドと腹の底から叫び、斧が弱気を払拭したという言い伝えがあったとかなかったとか。
Yeah, it's a very gallant name for a ship then. What's wrong now? You make quite the face.
おひいさんは、いくら一郎さんが異世界の人だからって、そういう嘘、よくないっすよ。
Tell me that's all just hogwash?
アルムアケードが死んでも負けないとか、嘘っぱちっす。
なごこら
Want to tell me what it really means then? Ship's name is Alumilikon. This name was born when Yukikaze went to Naga for advice after the ship has been salvaged from the bottom of the ocean. Even before the repairs were completed, it was decided that the ship needed a name.
名前を付けるときは大抵、ゆかりのある地名やら、持ち主の名前を称える名称を付けるっす。この場合、アクラーで発見された船なので、そのままアクラーと名付けるか、一郎さん風にアクラなんてのもありかもしんないっすね。
しかしそれではまるで人魚の船ではないか。
では、アークジーンとか？
それもまた、人魚の船を我が国が横取りしたようではないか。
じゃあもうグレート雪風でいいじゃないっすか。
自分の名前をつけるなど死ぬほどかっこ悪いのじゃ。
名護式金物のこと軽くバカにしてます？
Yes, she is.
となると、船そのものの特徴を名前にするのが一番混乱しないっす。
特徴と言われてものう。でかい、白い、臭い。どれも船の名前としては不向きじゃ。
船自体はアルミとケイ素の塊なんで、それにちなんだ名前とかどうっすか？
なんじゃと？
だから、アルミとケイ素っす。
ああ、わかった。それでよい。もう何でもよいわ。
So you registered the ship's name as Alumilicon after that?
そういうことっす。意味なんて後付けっす。
どうでもよいではないか。
Not really, I suppose. It's not as if we have a whole fleet of ships that need to have matching names, so I think it's fine as long as you approve of it.
それで、この船はいつ使えるようになるのじゃ？
先ほど説明しましたように、自力での推進移動は燃料がなければできないっす。だもんで、推進装置の試験はもう少し先にして、今は武装なんかの点検を進めている状態っす。
早く動けるようにせねば、いつビスラから攻撃を受けるか分かったものではないぞ。
それなんすけど、もう何度かビスラからの偵察が来てるっす。
What?
船の電子装備を修理して、一郎さんが尻尾をかじるほど欲しがっていた電波探信機が使えるようになったんすよ。
We can use the radar.
半径50キロを360度で探査可能っす。
It'd be strange if technologically advanced ships like this wasn't equipped with a radar. I just knew that to be one top show, Nago!
まだ使い方がよくわかってない部分もあるんすけど、ここ最近ビスラの飛行船と思われる機影を何度か電探で捉えてるんすよね。
対空監視員からは何の報告も入ってはおらんぞ。
肉眼ではほとんど見えない高度なんすよ。電探の数字を信じるなら、高度約12000メートル付近を通過してるっす。
Alright.
これまではせいぜい8000メートルといったところだったであろう。
8000では我々に気づかれてしまうことも多かったっすから、おそらく敵は偵察専用の超高高度飛行船を使っているんでしょうね。私たちが気づかなかっただけで、これまで何度も上空偵察されていた可能性もあるっす。
Surveillance is one thing, but if they were to bomb us with those ships, our arses are cooked.
それはどうすかね。電波に映った機影から察するに、偵察船は大した大きさじゃないっす。あれじゃ空爆用の爆弾も積める数に限度があるっすよ。
But if they use bombs like the one used at Dumplet 600 years ago, you would only need to carry one of those to do the significant damage.
マジーの太陽ですか。
ビスラ公国が未だにマジーの太陽を所有しているという噂が本当であれば、見過ごすわけにはいかんじゃろうな。
That's true, but the maximum altitude Ulysses can reach is only about 7,000, and reaching that altitude takes lots of time as it stands. You can forget about shooting down the enemy if we can't even see him. Even if we can't detect an oncoming raid from 50 clicks away, by the time we reach the enemy's altitude to intercept them, the hostiles will already be returning to base, mission accomplished.
これは早急に対応しなければならん問題じゃな。
そこで名護式金物新潟っすよ。
新潟じゃと？
そうっす。実は前々から一郎さんに敵の超高高度侵入に対する対策を仰せつかってたんすよ。
Did you finish the rocket engine?
物自体は結構簡単にできたっす。新しくなった名護式金物新潟には使い捨てのロゴ推進機が3つついたっす。
ロゴ推進機とは？
簡単に言っちゃうと、でっかい花火みたいなもんっす。ほら、お祭りの時とか、景気よくバスバス飛ばすあれっすよ。花火は粉末火薬を使用するっすけど、ロゴ推進機は2液混合式の液体燃料を推進剤として燃焼させるっす。 通常の内燃機関とは違って外部からの酸素供給を必要としないっすから、大気の薄い超高高度での使用も問題ないっす。
How effective is it? Do you think we'll be able to use it in
燃
combat?
焼実験の結果では、ロゴ推進機の最高上昇速度は推定で860キロ。急降下時の3発同時点火では1190キロに到達する計算っす。
So we still can't break the sound barrier, huh?
推進剤の研究が進めばなんとかなりそうなんすけど、それ以上速度を出してしまうと、搭乗員にどんな影響が出るか、まだまだ計算しきれていないんすよ。何にせよ、現状のロゴでの全力における最長燃焼時間は5分っすから、上昇に3分使って13000まで上がって、それから水平飛行に切り替えて、敵機追撃に2分っすね。
2分で敵を落とせというのか。
It will give us 1 minute to find and intercept hostile aircraft, and 1 more minute to turn around and try again if we miss. So that's similar to what we could do.
おーっと、一郎スワン。電炭と無線の存在を忘れていやしませんかい？いかに高高度であろうと、敵機の侵入は50キロも手前から察知できますし、無線で敵の侵入方向を指示できるんすよ。敵の侵入を感知したら、1分以内でこいつでドカンと飛んでいけば、偵察なんざ一コロっすよ。
Maybe according to your calculations, but those don't take human error into account. We need to run some test flights first.
また私が試験をやるのか？
Nah, it'd be better to try it with somebody more lightweight.
私が重いとでも？
Well, you are pretty heavy.
何を？
まあ、一郎さんの味方をするわけじゃないっすけど、飛ぶものは 1g でも軽い方がいいのは間違いないっすから。
Anything we'll be able to make the first test flight.
試作燃料の準備はもうできてるんで、搭乗員の選出が決まればすぐにでも行けるっすよ。
Alright, I'll select the most suitable candidate post-haste. Test flights with new equipment always involve some degree of danger. To be blunt, it's better to pick somebody who doesn't have any immediate family or that doesn't bear a responsibility to carry on their bloodline. Hence, the most desirable candidate can be found in my very own 384th Wyvern Squadron, which is made up mostly of outcasts. Carmine has her noble bloodline to carry on, and Mori has close bonds with her family, so they don't make the cut. The boys are down to Ellen and Fran. Neither of them have any known living relatives, but considering the weight of their wyvern forms, the solid build Ellen's been blessed with disqualifies her from the task at hand. Fran, since you're the most lightweight member of the 384th Squadron, you've been selected for this job.
Huh?
I hereby assign you the title Ultra High Altitude Fighter, and I'm transferring you into our new rocket program.
は？なんすかそれ？
To put it simply, you'll be the one testing our latest weapons. We'll be carrying out a test flight at altitudes of which nobody has ever flown before.
なんで私を選んだんだ？
Because you don't have any friends or family outside of your squadron.
はっきり言ってくれるぜ。部隊で一番惜しげがねえのは私ってことか。
My gut tells me you'll be able to get the job done. That's what solidified the decision.
かんね。ちょっとし合っただけで、私のこと全部わかってるみたいな顔されるとムカつくぜ。
I don't like it. In that case, feel free to resign. I won't force you to do this if I can make somebody else do it.
私がやらなかったら、他のやつがやべえことになるってんだろ。断れるわけねえじゃんか。
Glad you understand. Pack your luggage and get ready to move into the new barracks next to Nago's laboratory post-haste.
理解なんか何一つしてねえよ。
It's fine. I believe you can do it.
あんたなんかに私の何がわかるってんだよ。腹の立つ。私は私だ。あんたの理想を私に押し付けんなっつの。
Since I'll never understand you, I suppose it doesn't matter to me if you understand what we're doing, or if you don't want, or if you want to do it, does it? Now get going.
わかったよ。
Nobody understands her, nor does she wish to gain anybody's understanding. That's the biggest problem with Franz Squall. nobody trusts her because she's so distrustful of others. It's a tricky problem I've struggled with several times already. But because I understand the bitterness she's feeling, I won't show her any shallow sympathy. That will only make her feel worse. All I have to do is keep believing in her. That's all it takes. Principality of Whistler, Royal Capital.
新しい航空写真が届きました。
すでにフラムを開始しているのか。
運び出したところで運用など不可能だと思っていましたが、連中の技術力を侮っていたようです。
もう少し時間がかかるものと予想していたが、早かったな。
部隊を送り込んでダッシュしますか。
移動できないものを奪ったところでどうすることもできん。奪ったところで取り返しに来る連中との戦闘で戦域を増やすだけだ。
それならば敵の戦力として機能する前に、
連中の技術力を侮っていたのは確かだが、我々とて過去の遺産を食い潰すばかりではない。イクトゥスの改造はどうなっている？
はい。こちらをご覧ください。超高高度偵察飛行船イクトゥス2。これまでのイクトゥスとの大きな違いは上昇限界高度にあります。これまで非余圧式だった乗員室を全面余圧室化することで、乗員はマスクなしで15時間以上の作業が可能に。また同時に室内温度を20度前後に保つことで、作業時に軽微な障害となっていた防寒着の着用が不要になりました。これまで不要とされながらも外されることのなかった防御火器と防弾装備を極力排除し、軽量化に成功。これにより、実用上昇限度は約49000フィート。現状、この高度を飛行できるのは我々のイクトゥス2だけです。搭載可能な爆弾量は約2200ポンド。マジーの太陽も敵の反撃不能な高度から精密に投下することが可能です。
いや、あれはまだ使わない。世界に混乱をもたらすのが目的ではない。古い神の子を一掃したところで大地が腐ってしまえば意味がないのだ。害虫を駆除するのに城に火を放つバカはいまい。マジーの太陽は使う時と場所を選ぶ。今はまだその時ではないということだ。
ではマジーの太陽に代わる兵器を。
神経ガスを使え。
イルベガンをですか。
竜族に対して強力に作用するガスだ。それを目標物の2500フィート上空で爆散させる。酸素結合することで爆発的に飛散したガスは竜族の神経を破壊し、全身の筋肉が麻痺を起こし窒息死する。爆散半径30マイルは即死、90マイル圏内は3日後に、150マイル圏内は10日後に死に、10日を過ぎればガスは自然分解で毒性は緩和される。反乱軍のヨータル竜族が衰退したところを見計らい攻撃を仕掛ければ大義なく戦艦を鹵獲できよ
う。イルベガンは増産が難しくまだ時間がかかりますが。
急がせろ。
了解しました。
Evil bastards. The next day, after Fran moved from the 384th Wind Squadron's barracks into the temporary one erected next to Nago's laboratory, she began her special training immediately, without even having the chance to unpack her luggage. The new barracks are practically within shouting range of Fran's old ones, so all she brought here were bedding and toiletries. If she needed anything else, she can just go and fetch it at any time. Why did I bother to move her in the first place then? That's because the rocket propulsion system is a brand new weapon and it's best to keep within arm's reach of the engineers. Now the reason is that it's closer to the command post where I'm staying and I'm the one in charge of this new program. In addition, since we'll be entering an ultra-high altitude that nobody has ever experienced before, there's the risk of death looming over us. Taking that into consideration, it's better to eat our meals separately from our closest comrades. Few things are more disheartening than seeing a comrade whom you shared breakfast with in the morning being replaced by a single flower in a vase on the dinner table that evening. First stage of Franz Squall's ultra-high altitude flight training involves a close physical examination. She's stripped naked and her height, weight, limb length, eyesight, and vital capacity are all measured. She's made to walk in a straight line with her eyes closed for 30 seconds to test her balance, then tied to a chair at the end of a long pole that is spun around at ridiculous speeds. This supposedly tests her inner ear balance. When asked Nago about the meaning of these tests, she merely answers, "It can never hurt to collect more data." Her heavy breathing seems to have sparked my sadistic side, so I posed the one question that's been plaguing me since the start of this examination. Shouldn't you be taking down all these values for her wyvern form as well? Something about the dopey girl on Nago's face when she wholeheartedly agreed rubs me the wrong way. Fran is a valued member of my squad, so she's risking her life by taking part in these experiments, and want every step to be carried out as thoroughly as possible. In my mind, I swear to break Nago's glasses in half one day. I continue to observe Fran's examination, since there's much else for me to do in the meantime. What's wrong, sweet cheeks? I saw a soldier who quit before running even 3 laps, and I'll be damned if I ever will. Double time it, soldier.
これ、何の意味があるんすか?
Didn't Nago tell you? It's to flush the nitrogen from your body. After this, we're sticking your sorry tail into a decompression chamber where you'll be exposed to low air pressure and temps. Altitude sickness is the true killer up there at 10,000 meters, so we need to be ready for it.
だからって、人型のまま酸素瓶背負ってマスクしたまま走る意味がわかんねえっつってんすよ。
You should know better than me, soldier. Your human form affects your lizard form, so when you gas quick as a human, you gas quick as a lizard. You've only got your sorry self to blame for not lasting longer than a grandma. What you expect to happen when you keep on bumming cigs? Which Berg was it that had a smoke in the loo while we were in the middle of a decompression test? That's why your values went to shit and you got stuck soaked in your own sweat. And then you even started whinging to us about your body feeling heavy. Looks like someone finally has a goddamn clue. Bravo! As a reward, you'll be getting special treatment. After this, you visit the chamber. And it's the centrifugal accelerator. A grand slam of fun just for you, soldier. So cut the chatter, get your ass in gear! It's bad hers. She really puts her back in when she manages to succeed in most things, but since she's afraid of failing when she's at her best, she puts on a lazy act all the time.
おい見ろよ、プープがまた変なことやってんぞ。なんだありゃ、酸素背負って走ってるのか？なんだか知らねえけどよ、新兵器の実験なんだと。瓶背負って走るだけで出撃は免除だってよ。のんきなもんだ。羨ましいね。
All you two, you wouldn't happen to be taking the piss out of my subordinate, would ya?
三森一郎、おい、やばいぞ。
The Javiers are taking the bloody piss!
いえ、自分たちはプープを応援していたのであります。その通りであります。
Which squadron are you in? I didn't realize you plunks had enough time to take up cheerleading on the side. Why don't I hand you two some friendly skirts and pom-poms so I can perform the rest of the troops? For the rest of the troops.
は、ありがとうございます。ですが、自分たちは現代でも仕事がありますゆえ、ご心配は無用であります。
Now about you get back to work! Don't make me repeat myself!
失礼します。
あんまよその子いじめちゃダメっすよ。 ただでさえ一郎さんは怖がられてるんすから。
Like, listen up. There's not a single person in his army who isn't shit scared of you, so maybe try to be a little nicer. I'll kill him if they dare to make fun of my squad.
だから、殺しちゃダメっすよ。そういうこと言うから、噂に拍車がかかるんすよ。やれ、オークを素手でくびり殺しただの、飛んでるドラゴンゾンビを気合だけで落としただのと。
I wasn't aware of any rumors.
一郎、やばい。マジやばい。軍ではこの手の噂というか、武勇伝の類は尾ひれがついて広まるものっすよ。一郎さんに睨まれると石化するなんて噂を信じてる部隊もあるぐらいっすから。
What a bunch of bollocks.
でも、睨んだだけで女を妊娠させるってのは本当っすよね。
What? Want me to try it out on you?
はいはい。それはまた今度にしましょうっす。
Nothing surprises you anymore, does it? Really getting on my tits.
それでですね、フランさんの食事の件でご相談があるんすけど。
Does it matter what she eats?
そうっす。ほら、この前の減圧訓練の時、ずっとお腹が痛いって言ってたじゃないですか。
Did you some fun before that?
いえ、単純にお腹の中のガスが気圧変化で膨張したんすよ。これからは食事もガスが発生しにくいものに変えて、高高度量食の研究もしたいんすよ。
Sounds like a plan, but don't feed her anything too weird, alright?
わかってるっすよ。とりあえず、消化の悪いものやお肉を減らして、よく噛んでゆっくりと食べさせる実験っすね。で、フランさんはどこにいるんすか？
She still hasn't finished her laps with the oxygen tank.
そうっすか。じゃあ、戻ってきたら血液検査をしてから減圧室っすね。
Really think that running around is gonna reduce the nitrogen levels in her body?
それを調べるための実験じゃないっすか。
Well, you're making her go through all this when you're not even sure it'll work.
何せ、誰も行ったことのない高さまで行こうってんすから、何もかも手探りなんすよ。
Our previous data used so yes.
そりゃ、マジーの時代には宇宙まで出たって話もあるっすよ。けど、生身の飛竜が1万メートルを超えるなんて話は。あれ？でもなんかどっかでそんな話を聞いたような。いや、本で読んだんすかね。
Don't ask me.
まあ、とにかく、いろいろと試すことが多いんすよ。何せ神様の領域っすから。
I call it that.
知らないっすか？超高高度には神様がいるって、童話とか絵本なんかでは描かれてるんすよ。まあ、そんなのは観測技術が未熟だった時代に想像で描かれた子供騙しのお話なんすけどね。
Can you be sure of that?
はい？
You've never visually confirmed whether this great sage of folks believe in actually lives far above the clouds, have you?
そりゃそうっすけど、子供向けの童話の話っすよ。
Plenty old tales are based on reality if you trace their history. So they're interested to know if that's the case in this world as well.
まさか、フランさんと一緒にイチローさんも高高度に行く？
If Eliza can do it, then why can't I?
いや、あるっすよ。気圧も気温も酸素もそうっすけど、トムトレット砂漠の毒の何倍もの強い毒を浴びることになるんすよ。
I'm well aware of the risks. Just give it some thought.
困るっすよ。そんなの、お姫様になんて説明すればいいんすか？絶対私が怒られるじゃないっすか。
There's no need to tell her. If she finds out anyway, I'll apologize to her myself.
そんなに大賢者様に会いたいんすか？
Yep. Besides, I can't just stand by and watch while my subordinate risks her life. That's what generals at the top brass are for. All our training exercises might look like playing silly buggers to the layman's eyes, but I doubt anyone would dare laugh if I participated myself.
アホみたいとは失礼な。ちゃんと意味のある訓練なんすよ。
Guess the blokes around here just aren't as understanding as me.
笑いたいやつには笑わせときゃいいんすよ。私なんてしょっちゅう笑われてるっすよ。
I suppose that their understanding and trust can only be gained by showing them some concrete results. By the way, Nago, why did they keep calling Fran a bastard?
それは、誰に聞いたんすか？
Some lizards from another squadron called her that when they saw her running around with her oxygen tank. What have they got against her?
いえ、そういうのとは違うっていうか、
I know, that's why I'm asking. Is it something you can't say out loud?
プープってのは、近親相関で生まれた子供のことっす。
Come again.
ですから、フランさんは近親相関で生まれた子なんすよ。
I had no bloody clue about that.
そりゃ自慢して話すようなことじゃないですし、一応フランさんの効果表には記載されてるんすけど、知らなかったんすか？
No.
近親交配で生まれてきた子ってのは意味嫌われるっす。それが原因でどこの部隊でも馴染めなくて、はみ出し者の集まる384飛竜隊に回されてきたんすよ。
I see.
プープは血の汚れと煙たがられることが多いですし、実際病気になることも多いですし、極端に体の発育が悪いのもそれが原因だと言われてるっす。
Damn, I had no idea. Because it's true that I know nothing about her. That's pathetic.
同情はしない方がいいっすよ。プープに対する同情は当人たちが一番嫌う惨めっすから。
That's understandable, and certainly explains why she's so snappy with me when I try to show her my support. It's important. Couldn't you have told me sooner, Four Eyes?
いえ、一郎さんは知ってたフランさんを推薦してきたのかと。
Of course not. I only just learned about her circumstances. Even if I'd known, I wouldn't have selected her for such a shallow reason. I just wanted to give her some confidence to do new things.
成功経験ごくり。
Oi, no twisting my words. This is just my gut speaking, but I get the feeling she's been treated as a nuisance ever since she was little. Seems to think that nobody will ever acknowledge her, no matter how hard she tries. Must have started blaming all her failures on other bollocks, and figured that if nothing's gonna go right anyway, she might as well try to solve everything through violence. Kids can get away with just a slap on the arse for acting out of line, but the forgiving stops once you grow up. Tricky thing is that kids who grow up that way never learn the lesson that hard effort is actually rewarded, and they keep believing that brute strength is the key to everything. It used to be that way before I joined the Navy. That's why I want her to succeed at something that nobody else has ever done before. I'm hoping it will give her some confidence and a new outlook on life. What's with that look?
いえ、なんかちゃんと考えてるんすね、そういうこと。意外っす。なんかこう失礼な話、一郎さんはもっとバカだと思ってたっす。
You don't want to give you a hard beating?
何をすか？
走り終わったっす。
Bravo, good shell. Now drink some water.
ダメっすよ。その前に血液検査っす。
もう。
Not all soldiers enter the military of their own free will. Just as humans each have their own circumstances, lizards surely do too. You can roughly imagine what the friends of childhood must have been like. Sounds somewhat similar to my own. But maybe the difference between an annoying brat who lost his parents and an annoying brat who was shunned by her parents the moment she was born is bigger than I thought. Well, yeah, there's a difference between the people that are supposed to look after you and support you not being gone, and not being there, and the people who are supposed to look after you and support you actively cursing your existence. Like, one is just a lack of positive input, the other is something that should be a positive input is dialed to be an extremely negative input. So yeah, that's bad. So I decided I won't meddle in her affairs too much. Sure wouldn't appreciate anyone getting into my personal business after all. 3 days have passed since Naru and I had that conversation. After experimenting day in, day out, we finally started to develop an understanding of what works. Development of the prototype rocket engine had been progressing smoothly too. But just as it was almost ready for its first test flight, an accident occurred. A massive explosion ripped through the silence of the night. The origin was traced back to poor management and storage of hydrogen peroxide, one of the liquid propellants of the rocket engine. Hydrogen peroxide should be stored in glass bottles and left in water tanks. Should one of the bottles break, the fluid is diluted to a safe concentration. But that day the engineers ran out of glass bottles to use, so they stored some of the nitrogen peroxide in a metal container instead. That was a huge mistake. While Nago's manual did have a warning not to store hydrogen peroxide in metal containers, one engineer thought that a copper container would be fine, but the copper caused the hydrogen peroxide to decompose. The explosion occurred 2.5 hours later. Thankfully, the storage bunker is quite far away from the rest of our base, and since the explosion occurred well before Reveille, there were no casualties. There were about 700 liters of fuel in that bunker. The giant ball of fire that shot up into the sky instilled fear and distrust in all who witnessed it.
これまでにもジーナ・ナゴットによる実験中の爆発や損壊事故は数多くありましたが、今回の件は規模が規模だけに、これまでのように始末書では済ませられませんぞ。
かといって謹慎や離職というわけにもいくまい。あやつが研究室の椅子を開ければ、その分新兵器の開発も遅れる。
そもそも必要なのでありますか、そのロゴとやらは。
必要のないものを私が作らせるわけがなかろう。敵の高高度侵入は日に日に頻度を増していると聞く。ここで対策に遅れを取らば、より大きな損失を生む結果になる。
敵の高高度侵入とは申されましても、所詮は偵察に過ぎません。よしんば敵に攻撃の意思があったところで、そのような高さからどのような攻撃をしてくると。
マジーの太陽はどうじゃ。あれならば多少ずれた場所に落とそうとも。
それは極例に過ぎまするぞ。連中とてあれがどういうものかは理解の及ぶところでありましょうし、ましてや実際にそれを所持しているかも怪しいものです。
たとえ不確かであろうと、想定されるあらゆる脅威に備えるのが軍人じゃ。違うか。
実験中の事故も想定される脅威として考えるべきです。むしろ身内より発生する分、なおたちが悪い。
おい一郎、お前も黙っておらんでこの分からず屋を説得せんか。
What did you say?
これまでの話。
Now, sorry, the decompression chamber hasn't been doing my hearing much good. Keep trying to pop my ears, but it's not working.
一郎、貴様もいつまでくだらん実験に付き合っておるのだ。
What?
ロゴの実験は危険だ。計画は即刻中止すべきである。
You don't need to shout at me like that. I'm not deaf.
そうかい。
喧嘩をするなと私に何度言わせるつもりじゃ。
Are you kidding me? You can't start a war and then suggest we stay safe and not take risks. If that's your MO, you should have never declared war in the first place.
貴様、論点のすり替えだぞ、それは。そもそも航空とは神の領域である。迂闊に近寄らば神に見入られ、二度と地上には降りてこられんのだ。
Isn't that just a fairy tale?
いいや、史実じゃ。
What?
かつての大戦当時、今の我々のように超高高度を目指して命を落とした飛竜がいたのだ。敵の攻撃の及ばぬ高高度からの単独侵攻は当時の軍の悲願であり希望であった。軍令部からの期待も高く、その無謀とも思える超高高度への限界に挑んだ日。
The commander's expectations were as high as the limits of the gods defiant, so one wyvern recklessly decided to go even higher.
2年に及ぶ準備期間を使い、幾度もの失敗を重ね、少なくはない犠牲者を出してなお計画は進められ、任務に命を賭した仲間のためにもと。だが結果は失敗だった。地上からの光学観測では確かに1万7000メートルの超高高度に到達したのだが、その飛竜はそのまま帰ってくることはなかったのだ。その飛竜が 最後に送ってよこした電信を解読した結果、その内容は混乱の中で必死に助けを求める言葉が続き、最後に「神を見た」という言葉を残して電信は途絶えた。超高高度には神がいる。そこに近づきすぎれば罰が下るというわけだ。
Lack of oxygen can induce hallucinations.
その史実をもとに、今も数多く現像する童話が作られたというわけじゃ。
I mean, like legends about Icarus and the Tower of Babel? Does the fact that our starship exists prove that all those stories are fake? Or imply that the ship is also a creation of those gods?
無知による盲信とは違う。神の領域に足を踏み入れるには十分な手順が必要だという戒めなのだ。ナゴットの話によれば、我々の星の船も飛行が可能になるという。そうなれば何も生身に等しい飛竜が超高高度へ挑む意味もなくなる。違うか?
Yes, that will. You're completely missing the point. If you asked me, the whole story about God's territory is no different from the stories about cloud seeds.
雲の種?
In my world, many pilots feared that they might run into cloud seeds. The story was that clouds had solid seeds inside them, and if you recklessly flew into a cloud, you might crash into them and go down. Of course, clouds don't actually have seeds in them. That was just a story pilots jokingly told their juniors in order to scare them. First of all, there's no guarantee that the enemy won't attack until our ship is ready. If I were the enemy general, I would aim to destroy the ship before it can be mobilized. If our flagship, the new symbol of Baraul, were to be destroyed before the eyes of our troops, it would greatly influence our morale. A flagship has to be indestructible. We must never allow it to be sunk.
貴様の言い分ももっともだ。だが、なぜそこまでして超高高度にこだわる？
超高高度におる神が気になるのであろう。その神こそが自分をこの世界へ導いた張本人かもしれぬ。
そうなのか?
That's part of it. Those investigations can wait until the war is over, though I doubt that the gods will go anywhere in the meantime.
では何故か?
Because of Fran. I don't want to take her new job away from her now that she's working so hard at it.
大げさな。超高高度以外にも仕事はいくらでもあろう。
I'm sure there are, but surely there aren't many jobs available that only she can accomplish. To Fran, the army is her family. If she doesn't have anything to fight for, she will lose her only home. That's why she needs to be given a job that only she can do, to make her realize that the army needs her.
組織の中で波を自覚し者あらば、その者にしかできぬ仕事を与えよ。というわけじゃな。
Right, that's part of the reason why armies usually have so many seemingly superfluous departments and squadrons. If a soldier struggles to develop themselves, it is their officer's duty to determine what their talents are and to give them a fulfilling job.
なるほどの。一郎が個人的に小さい女が好きでたまらんからフランの面倒を優遇しているわけではないということじゃな。
What the bloody hell are you on about?
成功を経験させ自信につなげるという話は理解できた。だがそれも失敗しなければという前提あっての話ではないのか?
It'll be fine, she'll definitely see it through.
なぜそう言い切れる?
I'm afraid I can't provide any proof, but I don't doubt her. I believe in her because we're comrades and family. I want to see her win, and I believe that one victory will change her for the better.
何もかもが精神論でまかり通ると思うなよ。
構わん。一郎はフランを疑ってはおらんのだろう？ならば私もフランを信じている一郎を疑わん。
それでよろしいのですか？
ロゴ計画はこのまま続行する。成功すればフランスクワール総長の少尉への昇進も考えておく。
How about Naga? Will she be punished?
3日間のおやつ抜きじゃ。以後、燃料の管理は厳重を徹せよ。
姫様、それでは他の者に対しての。
何を言う。3日間の司法物品の支給停止は重罰ぞ。私なら泣いてしまうやもしれん。
Oh, look at me, it's the Serene Commander of our army says so, then who am I to object?
この毛である
Who, me? Do I have a problem with our commander's orders?
私自身のことだ
Oh, really now? Be careful you don't get ulcers, old boy.
何の話をしておるのじゃ？
Forget about it. None of this is relevant. What matters is whether or not we can resume the experiment of the record program.
良いぞ。だが、これまで以上に安全を留意せよ。
Roger that. It's a minor miracle that the rocket program, which, despite our great efforts, has been ridiculed as meaningless buffoonery by soldiers and officers alike, has not been cancelled yet. But now that the serious accident has occurred, we will surely face more criticism than ever before. Especially because Franz is supposed to be a bastard, which already stirs more than enough animosity. Maybe the awful environment she grew up in has kept her from demonstrating her true power until now. Her poor record in the army must have further inhibited her growth. Due to her weaker constitution, she fell ill often, which only contributed to the increasing antagonism against her as a dragon of sullied blood. However, I won't give up on her. No matter how badly everyone thinks her, I'll never give up on her, even if she gives up herself. Obstinacy is key if you want to be a good officer, and a good debt collector for that matter. What are you doing out here? Told you to wait at the barracks for any further orders.
仕事がないならどこにいようと私の勝手だろ。なことより、話し合いの結果は出たのかよ。
I have good news and bad news. It's up to you which one you want to hear first.
じゃあ、いい知らせから。
The rocket program will continue. I'll start accompanying you on test flights tomorrow.
なんでだよ。やだ。重い。
I'm not exactly proud to say this, but I'm kind of a shorty. My weight shouldn't slow you down.
そうじゃない。他人の命を預かって飛ぶのなんか、まっぴらだ。
My life is of no concern to you. When I die, I die. Regardless of whether I'm riding you or not, I won't blame you for anything.
なんだよそれ。なんでそんな簡単に私なんかを信じられるってんだ。あんたはどうして私を疑わないんだよ。
Nothing can be gained from being distrustful of one's subordinates. I don't care if you're an idiot or a bastard or whatever. Now that you're in my squadron, I won't hear any excuses. But you're probably too boneheaded to understand that, so here's an alternative. If you can't believe in yourself, then at least believe in my trust in you. Okay, calm down there, Commandant.
本気で言ってんのかよ。
I'm always serious.
自信家だな。いや、自信過剰だぜ、あんた。
I don't doubt myself, that's all there is to it.
強いんだな。
I do everything in my means to try and be strong. I won't want to betray the expectations of my subordinates who view me as a strong commanding officer, at least.
どうしたら、あんたみたいに強くなれるんだ。
It's simple, stop looking down. Efforts aren't always rewarded, and you may often face hardships in life. Sometimes you may suffer because nobody understands you. You may become the victim of unfair treatment or injustice. The world can be cruel, but you must never let that get you down. If you keep your chin up and look at the sky, you'll find the courage to stand up again and find new hope. I learned of the vast sky's powers when I was still a child. Whenever I felt down, I would simply look up. If you look down, tears will spill from your eyes. If you look up, you'll be able to hold them back. It's that simple, really.
なこと言われたって、よくわかんねえよ。
Really are an idiot, yeah?
言われなくても、バカなのは知ってるよ。
There's no point for an idiot to think about things too deeply. You're never gonna find any answers that way. If you take to the skies with hatred and regrets in your heart, they'll corrode your mind. And once it's corroded, it'll become too heavy to fly with. You've been given the wings to fly, so you may as well enjoy it while you can.
かもしんないな。何も考えずに飛べたら、それが一番なのかもしれない。
You're too small to carry such a heavy burden around in your head, so you should carry me instead and get yourself used to the weight.
簡単に言ってくれるぜ。
Still different people after all. We may have been through similar experiences, but I don't intend to add to your burden by meddling too much.
そういえば、もう一つの悪い知らせってのは何なんだ？
You'll be spending almost every day with me starting tomorrow.
それが悪い知らせ？
You hate me, don't you? I thought you'd throw a Monty about it.
バーカ。
What? Look who's talking, you stupid bastard!
はあ？さあせん。ちっとよく聞こえなかったんすけど。
Oh, I knew you bastards were dumb, but don't tell me you're hard of hearing too.
マジかこいつ。プープとか関係ねえっつってたんじゃねえのかよ。
That's what I've been telling you, but my words won't change the fact that you are one. I'm just accepting you the way you are.
ああ、これってあれっすか？あっしに喧嘩売ってんすか？マジっすか？やんすか？悪いっすけど、あっし超強いっすよ。
Great, that's the spirit. Come at me.
ぶっ殺す。
Ah, hey, that's smart, you little.
肌折れるっつの。女の顔面グーで殴るとか、マジばっかじゃねえの？
That's not fair.
あんま調子こいてっと、そっちにひんもぐぞちっぽこ野郎が。
Seriously pissing me off. Don't think you can get away with this. I'll have you crying for mercy soon enough.
何脱いでんだよ。おい、シャレになんねえぞ。
You're screwed.
犯される。
何をやっとるのじゃあいつらは。まったく喧嘩のあるところには必ず一郎がおるの。
And I love how this dude was just like gets kicked in the balls at first response is, I'll fucking beat you. It's like fucking rips his shirt off. Like it's a similar energy to like the fucking that video where like this dude like secretly pokes someone on the shoulder in a way that makes it seem like someone else did it. This dude just dead ass gets up, takes off his shirt, and just punches him in the face.
まあ男同士ならああいったやり方もまた正しいのでありましょうが、不器用というか他のやり方を知らんのではありませんか。
それはそれでいいではないか。フランの顔。
で
Oops, fuck.
ありますな。
それはそれでいいではないか。フランの顔を見ろ。まるでつきものが落ちたような顔をしておる。なんとか成功させてやりたいの。
We all want to see Fran succeed, but of course it would be better if the enemy didn't attack at all. There's no reason to think that any information regarding our rocket program has been leaked, but it's a near coincidence that we haven't spotted any hostile scouts during our test flights. It's just calm before the storm, or does it suggest that we've made significant progress? As tension among our troops runs high, something finally happens.
機関アルムアケード発令所よりナナオフェティ少尉から達します。当拠点より50キロ西方より高度1万5000メートルにて進行する敵小型飛行船の機影を確認。
短期偵察か？
電端に映る機影の波形がこれまでと異なります。おそらくは何らかの武装強化を施したものと思われます。
ついに来ましたか。
マジーの太陽を積んでいると思うか？
事実はどうあれ敵の戦力は課題強化しておくべきでしょう。
積んでいると仮定し対処すべきか。よし、一郎を呼べ。
一郎様はすでにロゴーの発信試験場に向かわれております。呼び戻されますか？
なんじゃと？
一郎、聞こえておるか？どこにおる？
Copy him at the rocket test center,
お
over.
うではない。何をしておる？すぐに司令部まで来い。
I heard Nano already contacted me. I'll take off post haste,
なん
over.
じゃと？
一郎さん、射出機の準備で
Where's Fran?
もう硫化して燃料注入中のロゴにしがみついてるっす。
Righto, we'll take off as soon as the tank is full.
待て、またんか。まさかお前も行くつもりではあるまいな、一郎。
Of course I'm going. This isn't the drill. It's the real thing. If I don't go, who will?
高木様。
I've experienced ascent over 10,000 meters in the span of 3 minutes, more times than you've had hot dinners. I can handle it.
でも今度の敵は1万5000メートルっすよ。 最低でも13000メートルは上がらないと攻撃できないっす。
10,000, 13,000, what's the difference? That's fine, that's why I'm wearing all this gear. The enemy is approaching at 250 clicks per hour, right? There's no time. Stop yelling at me and issue an evacuation order for the most likely targets. Weren't you gonna believe in me? I promise I'll take it down. It's not like you to act all wishy-washy in an emergency. Don't let me down!
よし。ならば行け。そして必ず戻れ。いいな。
Roger that, friend, and I'll take care of this.
一郎さん、燃料の注入が終わったっす。
Right on, I'm on my way.
いいっすか、一郎さん。よく聞いてください。敵の飛行船は高度15000メートルっす。ですが、現状のロゴでは1万メートル以上の上昇実績がないっす。だもんで、少しでも上昇負担を減らすために、3本ある方針のうち2本を取り外したっす。それだけで180キロは軽くなる計算っす。
That means I've only got one shot.
唯一残した方針には70ミリの榴弾が装填されてるっす。有効射程は2000メートル。
I know, I'll listen to the rest in the air. There's no time.
了解っす。
Front, you ready?
当たり前っすよ。あっし、いつだって気合張りっすから。
Right, let's go. Ignite all three boosters simultaneously.
ロゴ、離陸成功っす。
あのバカ者。本当に生きよった。
あの男の性格ではそれも仕方がありますまい。部下を危険にさらして自分は見上げるだけというのはあの男には我慢ならんのでしょう。
私にはその我慢を強いておいて。勝手な男じゃ。名古屋、ロゴは本当に大丈夫なのじゃろうな。
Nope.
飛行実験自体は何度も成功していますし、高度1万以上も計算上では問題ないんすけど。
ただ、
それは今から説明するっす。聞こえるっすか、一郎さん。
Alright, copy. Is there a problem? Over.
今回一郎さんが背負っている酸素瓶は重量を減らすために小さいものを使用してるっす。
I heard as long as it lasts me 20 minutes, it should be enough.
搭乗員の限界である高度は約1万2000メートルっす。そこまで上がると気温はマイナス60度。一郎さんの体力と集中力がぐんぐん吸い取られるっす。それに酸素瓶があったところで息をするのにも苦労してほとんど動くこともできないっす。というか下手に動くと血中酸素が一気に消費されて気絶するっす。
I wasn't planning on doing a full workout out here. I just have to focus on staying conscious, so...
気温や酸素だけの問題じゃないっす。気圧も脅威っす。今、一郎さんが着ている加圧服も1万3000メートルに達すれば血中酸素濃度が限界を超えて意識を保てなくなるっす。
ちゃ、面倒なもん背負って飛び出してきちまったな。やっぱあんたは地上で待ってるべきだったんじゃねえの
That's your only complaint. I'm sure your fighting spirit will get you through this.
試合ではどうにもならない問題があと2つほど。
What?
以前にも経験されてるとは思うっすけど、高高度を長時間飛行すると静電気でラッピングされて無線交信に支障が出るっす。一応改良はしたんすけど、高度が高度だけに完璧とは言えないっす。
Can't friend just wave her tail to discharge static?
効果がないわけじゃないとは思うっすけど、あまり尻尾を振ると上昇の抵抗になるんで。
Oh, well, it's not like we'll have much use for a radio when we're operating in a single unit. What's the other issue
こ
over?
れが一番の問題っす。もし敵の飛行船がマジーの太陽を搭載しているのを目視で確認したら、攻撃はしないでそのまま逃げてくださいっす。
What do you mean,
もしマジーの太陽が爆発したら、その爆発に巻き込まれてお二人は逃げる間もなく死んじゃうっす。
Even if we're still 2,000 meters away, over?
無駄っすね。攻撃後に反転して全速で降下しても一瞬で焼け死ぬっす。
Roger.
本当に分かっておるのか？もし敵の飛行船の下にそれらしきものをぶら下げているのを確認したら、さっさと逃げるのじゃぞ。
I know, stop yapping at me. Getting a bit hard to breathe up here. I shouldn't waste my breath any further. I'm ending this call.
切り折った。あのバカ。
もう、まだ非常用の化学酸素の説明が終わってないっすよ。
一郎は分かったと言っておったが、本当に分かっておると思うか？
He's gonna be like, oh, there's something dangerous dangling from it. Alright, so fire?
あれは分かっておらんでしょうな。
分かっておらんじゃろうな。
何せ384飛竜隊の死にたがり部門筆頭とその教え子ですからな。自分たちの犠牲で何が救えるかということしか考えておらんでしょう。
歯がゆいな。私たちはここでこうして連中が無事に帰ってくるのを待つことしかできんのか。
万が一ということもあります。姫様は安全圏まで退避を。
次にまたそのようなバカを申せば貴様は国へ返すぞ。
失言でした。
どうすんだよ。
What do you mean?
もしマジーの太陽とやらを確認したらだよ。
We'll abort the sortie and flee westwards at full speed. This should allow us to survive at least.
そんな卑怯な真似ができるかっつの。
You don't have some dumb idea in mind, do
あ
you?
んた、落下傘を背負ってんだろ。今すぐ私の背中から降りてくれよ。
Sorry, but I'm not wearing it right now. It isn't common practice in the Navy, but I wanted to reduce our weight as much as possible.
あんたバカかよ。何考えてんだよ。死ぬのは私一人でいいんだ。私が死ねば他のみんなが助かる。384で一番の役立たずは私だ。この作戦は一人の命でたくさんの命を救う、そんな作戦なんだ。そうだろ。
That's right.
どうせ私はここで生き残ったってろくな活躍はしない。だけど今ここで私が死んで代わりが効かない奴らを救うことができれば、結果的により多くの人を救うことができる。これは私みたいな奴でも多くの人を救うことができる最後の機会かもしれない。これは神様がくれた機会なんだ。あんたまで付き合うことなんかなかったのに。
Do you think you can get rid of me that easily? I told you that you're stuck with me, remember? Look who's talking, stupid bastard.
一郎、あれ見える。
Did you spot the enemy? No, that's not it. It's too small. What is that?
まさか飛竜？どうしてこんな高度に？
If you see two, that means I'm not just seeing things at least. Is that what you would call a god?
神様。
Fran, 9 o'clock.
見つけた。あれは間違いない。敵の飛行船だ。ご丁寧にビスラの紋章まで入っているよ。
Righto. Command post, do copy.
一郎、雑音がひどいぞ。静電気を放電せんか。
We found enemy altitude up. Commencing attack.
おい、一郎、待て。敵の装備は確認したのか。マジーの太陽は。
Say again. Can't hear you. Over.
一郎。
Fine. Believe.
姫様、お力を抜いてください。
Calm
見て
down,
か
lass.
血が。
悔しいの。悔しいの。
Got him my sight. Get ready to fire. The target is a hostile altitude airship. First shot loaded. Cock the hammer.
撃鉄起こしよし。目標距離2000。右手よし。左手よし。射撃用意よし。
Fire! Hit!
これで落ちなかったらもう次は弾がないよ。
And we'll just have to ram it.
一郎、飛行船が。
Right, on top form, Fran.
姫様。
この音は。一郎、どうした。返事をせい。一郎。くそ、 こんな時に使えん無線とは役立たず以外の何者でもないわ。
落ち着いてください、姫様。爆発の規模からすればマジーの太陽ではなかったと思われます。
一郎か。
機関、アルムアケード発令所、ナナオフェティ少尉であります。現在、練炭上で敵小型飛行船の機影の消滅を確認しました。空爆阻止成功です。
一郎とフランはどうした？練炭で姿は確認できんのか？
残念ながら、爆発による飛散物が多く、判別不能です。
姫様、どちらへ参られますか？
一郎さん、帰ってこないっすね。
いや、フランの心配もしてやってくれんか？あれでも一応、私の隊の秘蔵っ子なんだ。
あ、すんませんす。
どっかで寄り道してご飯でも食べてる？
あなたじゃあるまいし、そんなのありえませんわよ。
At the same time, however, Carmine, can you honestly, like, honest to God, imagine Ichiro kicking the bucket?
道に迷ってるってことは
人生の道にか？
フランさんならそういうこともあるかもしれませんけど、一郎さんがついているのにそれはありえませんわ。
おーい、早く帰っておいで
ナゴー！一郎はどうした？まだ戻らんのか？
おひいさま。はい、まだ戻られてないっす。
まったく、どこで何をしておるのじゃ？なぜさっさと戻ってこんのじゃ？
超高高度の神様に気に入られちゃったんすかね。
不吉なことを言わないでくださいまし。
みんな不安なんですよ。
すみません。でも、覚悟はしておいた方がいいっす。一郎さんが飛び立ってから、もう20分以上経つっす。
なに？心配はいらん。あやつは必ず帰ってくる。この私とそう約束したのだからな。
おひいさま。
I have a sudden suspicion. They spotted a dragon while everything had happened. That dragon was Setsuna. She was like accompanying the ship or something, I feel.
一郎は果たせぬ約束などせん男じゃ。それに、私との約束は一度たりとて違えたことなどはない。
Like she probably stayed at a
心配はいらん。
distance where she wouldn't be affected by the neurotoxin. You copy? Ezekiel Memory and Franz Squall.
おひいさま、無線が
Current altitude 5,800. We've completed our mission and are heading back to base. Over.
一郎さん、聞こえですか？無事なんすね。
Yeah, it's a little hard to breathe as I'm out of oxygen, but both Fran and I are safe.
あの野郎、生きて戻ってきやがった。
あの方、神様に嫌われたのではありませんこと。喧嘩っ早いし下品だし、お前は来るなって言われたんですわ。
むしろ逆じゃないかな。あの人は軍神に守られてるんだよ。
Oh, you lasses sure like to gossip like hens when I'm away.
おかえり、一郎。お土産は？
I ain't going on a sightseeing trip, you
何
know.
にせよ、無事で何よりだ。とっておきの酒を開けてやる。さっさと降りてこい。
よかったっすね、おひいさま。一郎さん、帰ってくるっすよ。おひいさま？おひいさま、どうしたんすか？
いや、少しクラッとしただけじゃ。
張り詰めていた緊張が急に切れたのでしょうな。
あれかな？帰ってきたよ。
どこですの？
もっと左だよ、まーちゃん。太陽の影になってるから見えにくいかな。
That's not.
一郎！
That's not Ichiro and Franz.
大丈夫ですか？おひいさ
一郎の言った通りじゃな。
ま。何がっすか？
見上げた空にはいつだって希望があるという話じゃ。
That's not fun. So, Fran's ultra-high altitude sortie came to an end, or not? We succeeded at something nobody has ever done before, and were commended for staving off a highly destructive aerial raid on the coastal territories. We even received a formal recommendation from General Glenn Kavanagh of Argene's Second Area Army in charge of the west-eastern regions. And, though it may not count as an official reward, we also received a Medal of Honor from Yukikaze Jeanblood, Supreme Commander of the Baraul Central Army. Wyvern of tainted blood, born into this world from forbidden relations. Those who scorned her from being nothing but a bastard were silenced soon enough after her promotion, and little by little the bad rumors surrounding her ceased. We're actually still on 0% of Chapter 4. I'm guessing the neurotoxin is still gonna happen, and it's gonna be a big problem. It had been thought impossible to intercept enemy aircrafts invading at ultra-high altitudes, but this one wyvern showed us all a miracle unlike any witnessed before. Her name was Lieutenant Francois. It was truly an exceptional performance.
で、結局、高高度に神様とやらはおったのか?
Nah, nothing. I did, however, see something else while flying around at 17,000 meters.
何を見たのじゃ?
I didn't get to take a close look since I was focused on taking down the enemy, but I expect it's the main character from your fairy tale.
なんじゃそれは。飛竜が飛んでおるのを見たとでも言うのか?
Maybe that old fairy tale is truly based on fact, and it's been flying around up there ever since then.
600年以上前の話じゃぞ。意識が飛びかけて、夢でも見たのではないか?
Maybe. That would make for a better conclusion to this story, at least. Maybe legends are valuable precisely because the truth behind them can't be verified. With that in mind, maybe it's not such a great idea to try and find the gods of this world. But there's a reason why I have to go back to my country no matter what. And it's well worth taking any risks. Maybe that's the same reason why the gods seem to hate me and have denied me the chance to die an honorable death over and over. On Estard outskirts, Baraul base. Are you fucking kidding me? Oh, you know, 0% the entire time. Boom. Also, every time I've shown the percentage, turns out I didn't turn off the fucking face cam. So people could just not see the percentage until I actually read it out. I'm a special brand of stupid, aren't I? Also, I can remove this. There we go. But yeah, we went from 0% to 51% in like one fucking one scene transition. I'm starving. When I was new in this world, the local cuisine looked bizarre to me, but I've gotten quite used to it by now. Doesn't taste that bad, and I'm not that much of a picky eater in the first place. There's one thing I miss dearly: soy sauce. They do have some kind of bean that they use to create something resembling miso paste, so would it be possible for the slob jockeys to make some soy sauce out of those? Oh, what the heck was that? Oh, sorry, but you got what was coming to you. Sleeping in the middle of a footpath. Don't yawn for a new instructor. At least cover your mouth. Throwing up is even worse. Didn't I tell you to drink a glass of water for every glass of booze? Why the bloody hell would I want to do that? Why, don't just run off. Actually, I still can't tell what that lass is thinking. What's wrong? You need me for something? Well, I'm just a petty officer second class.
もう、いつまで過去の階級にしがみついてるんすか。一郎さんはペトルシュカマーレン大尉の直下っすから、分隊士なんすよ。
but I'm not exclusively assigned to the 384th Squadron. I'm frequently making the rounds at other squadrons too.
そういう理屈とかどうでもいいんすよ。とにかく、いつ呼び出しがあるかわかんないんすから、無線機はいつも携帯しなきゃダメっす。
Being on call all day means sacrificing any freedom I had left.
とにかく、おひいさまが呼んでるっすから、一緒に来てほしいっす。
That's so. I was just on my way to the mess. Tell her to wait a tick.
もうだいぶ待たせちゃってるんすよ。お腹が空いてるなら、私のおっぱい吸わせてあげるっすから。
That'd be ridiculous. Your measly bosom would never fill me up.
まあ、いつからそんな贅沢な子になっちゃったんすか？欲しがりさんっすね。
I really need to put an end to this war quickly so I can create a new constitution that'll put you behind bars. Once you rise to the ranks, you've got more than just your own job to worry about. You're responsible for all the young lads below you, and while it's natural that you want to give them opportunities to prove their worth, once you're involved in strategic planning, your troubles increase tenfold. Oh, hold on. There we go. I suppose it's pretty selfish of me that I'd rather avoid being present when inconvenient facts come to light.
おう、一郎。遅かったではないか。
It's so pressing that you need to speak to me right away.
今日はリンシンが席を外しておっての。私一人で作戦を決議するわけにもいかんのでな。
In that case, I should just talk to Salkin or Petra, right?
なんじゃ。機嫌が悪いの。
Nagra stopped me in her tracks just as I was on my way to get lunch.
おっぱいに釣られたのか。
How do you know about that?
一郎さんは上からの命令やお金では動かないので、女を使って連れてこいっておひいさまに言われたんすよ。
まんまと引っかかったようじゃのう。
Should have known you were behind this. Seems like a great leader should think about retiring before I can revise the laws.
何の話じゃ？
Never mind. So, what's this about future strategies?
エストポリア戦役の話は聞いておるか？
That's the area Salkin returned from with Platoon 1, correct?
そうじゃ。油田と工場地帯のあるビスラの要所の一つじゃな。そこの油田を双剣の部隊が奪取したという話は聞いておるな。
Yes, but I'm not privy to the details.
エストポリアには今もまだ我が軍の地方部隊が駐屯しておってな。補給もままならぬ状態のまま拠点を取ったり取られたりを繰り返しておる。
七尾さんの報告書によると、昼間はビスラ軍が無視戦車で拠点を奪い返しに来て、夜になると我が軍が奪われた拠点をさらに奪い返すといった具合らしいっす。
Armored louse wagons. Jeez. So it's turned into an endless tug of war.
もはやビスラ側も夜には拠点を奪われることが分かっておって、あっさりと拠点を明け渡しておるようじゃ。
So they're just slowly but surely whittling away at your forces and supplies while not really sacrificing any themselves.
拠点を明け渡すことで、山に隠れてゲリラ化している我が軍を山から引きずり出して少しずつ削っていく戦法らしいっすね。
How many days do you think we'll last without a proper supply line?
最後の補給を行ったのが11日前。まだ戦線が維持できているのが不思議なぐらいじゃ。
Why aren't we sending more convoys?
大規模な輸送部隊ともなれば簡単にはいかんのじゃ。補給基地のコーディアも壊滅したままじゃしの。そこでじゃ、補給部隊の輸送路の安全確認を兼ねて事前偵察を出そうと思っておるのじゃが、それを貴様に言ってもらえんかという相談じゃ。
ついでに救援物資と無線機の運搬をお願いしたいっす。綺麗なお水と携帯糧食を200人分に無線機を20台ほど。総重量で700キロくらいっす。
That's pretty heavy. You should probably split that up between several wyverns.
いや、あまり大勢で行かせるわけにもいかん。偵察や物資輸送が敵にバレてしまえば元も子もないからの。まずは短期で乗り込み、輸送部隊を送り出すことが可能かどうかを判断する。
Roger, I'll go and check the status of the troop station at Espolia. Somebody needs to teach them how to use the radios too.
貴様ならそう言うだろうと思っておったわ。貴様がどうしてもというのであれば、この私が一緒に。
ああ、だったらついでに私の師匠に会ってくるといいっすよ。一郎さんは神様に会いたいんすよね。
Possible.
私の師匠は当然私より神様について詳しいっすから。神様に会いたいなら師匠に話を聞いてみるといいっす。
おい、まだ私の話の途中じゃぞ。
Where does that master use live
戦
exactly?
争が嫌で山奥に逃げ込んでるんすけど、その山ってのがエストポリアの少し先にあるんすよ。
Thanks, Naru. Can you write me a letter of introduction?
わかったっす。ついでに師匠にお土産持ってってほしいっす。ほら！びっくりした。コラなんて怒られたの久しぶりっす。
一郎よ、今は余計なことをしている場合ではあるまい。
Or I'll do everything you asked me to.
そういうことではないのじゃ。
And what is it?
それは、まあ、なんじゃ。
おひいさまは一郎さんが元の世界に帰ろうとしてるのが嫌なんすよ。
I see.
うるさい。何が師匠じゃ。いくら一郎が行くと言っても私はいかんからな。
I don't mind. I don't need you to come along. There aren't many wyverns who can carry a 700-kilogram load over such a long distance. I wasn't planning on asking you in the first place.
なんじゃと。
It would only take half a day to get there if we didn't have to scout the supply route along the way. But at this rate, it'll become an overnight trip. I'll start my preparations at once. Don't worry, I'll be back in a jiffy.
絶対じゃな。
Have I ever lied to you before?
当たり前じゃ。勝手にいなくなりおったら許さんぞ。
いいんすかあれ。
The issue is more the fact that Lin Xin is apparently gone right now. So someone needs to stay behind at the base. But what?
おひいさまのことっすよ。おひいさま、一郎さんと二人っきりで偵察に出かけたかったんじゃないっすかね。
Probably. In a sense, it would have been easier for me too if she came, but having the princess go on some piffling reconnaissance mission in person posed all sorts of issues.
もう、だからこそ、リンシンさんがいないときにって思ったんじゃないんすか？そこを分かってあげてほしいっす。
I don't understand that because I don't understand that because the gaffer isn't here. I have to do his work on top of my own. Don't you understand that because of the gaffer isn't here? I have to do his work on top of my own.
石頭っすね。まるで父親みたいっす。
I'm not some kind of rebellious brat. Not anymore, at least. Surely Kakazi understands how valuable she is. That's what she didn't insist.
でも、やっぱり不安なんすよ。もし元の世界に帰る方法が見つかったら、一郎さん、黙っていなくなっちゃうんじゃないかって。
I intend to see this war through to the very end, even supposing that I do find a way to go home.
それでも、言葉だけじゃ不安なんすよ、女は。
Stop talking like you're a woman or something.
一応確認しておくっすけど、私も一応女っすよ。
I don't know, but you didn't seem like the type to care about annoying stuff like that.
そんなことないっすよ。私だってちゃんと乙女なんすから。さっきの一郎さんのセリフ。俺が今まで一度でもお前に嘘をついたことがあるか？だって、もう、かっこいいっすね。私の乙女の部分がジュクジュクするっす。でも、本当はあるんすよね。嘘ついたこと。
I don't think so.
本当に？
But there's gotta be a first for everything.
どういう意味っすか？
If I don't manage to return, it'll be the first time I've lied to her.
帰って、来るんすよね。
Why, not you too.
シャレとか冗談じゃなく、ちゃんと帰ってくるんすよね。
Yeah.
なんだか胸騒ぎがするっすけど。まあいいっす。それで、結局誰に乗っていくんすか？
I'll take Ellen. She is the most suitable candidate, considering the distance and weight of the load. Can I make a luggage rack or something to make transport easier?
わかったっす。名護式金物の県庁金具を改造して、コンテナを運べるようにしておくっす。
Make it quick if you can. After hearing about the situation in Espolia, I think I should get going sharpish.
了解っす。明日の朝には出発できるように準備しておくっす。
The chances of an enemy attack are slim during a scouting mission in our own territory. Still, it's better not to get lulled into a false sense of security. There's a limit to how much equipment a single unit can carry, so you can never be cautious enough. Now that I think I'll be leaving at daybreak. Now that I know I'll be leaving at daybreak tomorrow morning, I've got a busy night ahead of me.
一郎さん、ロゴはどうするっすか？
Right, to reduce the amount of thrusters, though. One of the basics of scouting and patrolling is that you must be able to escape as quickly as possible if you run into any unexpected enemies.
と言っても、コンテナに干渉する分、詰めて2発っすよ。
That's fine, we just need the extra speed to escape in case of an emergency. 60% of the maximum acceleration range should be more than enough.
了解っす。
一郎、小銃は何丁持ってくんだ？
None. One break action single shot pistol will be enough.
だって山で野営すんだろ？熊出たらどうすんだよ。
You should be grateful if a lump of meat walks into our hungry arses. My katana should do a fine job of skinning its carcass.
マジか。パネーな一郎、熊空気かよ。
The taste leaves much to be desired, but they're not completely inedible. I heard the stomach has healing properties too. Bring it home for the medics.
一郎さん、糧食班に依頼しておいたお弁当届きましたよ。
Great. Put them on Ellen's kit bag. Put them in Ellen's kit bag.
おにぎりと、なんか黄色いたくあん？それとバナナが入ってます。日持ちはしないので、お昼には食べきってくださいとのことです。
What about the caramel I ordered?
それは私が作ってみました。言われた通り、牛乳と水飴とバターとお砂糖をお鍋で煮詰めてみたんですけど、どうでしょう？
Looks jolly fine, good show.
なに食べ物？
Ellen, I told you to stay on standby in the catapult.
だって、おしっこしたかったんだもの。
Can't you take care of that while we're in the air?
一郎さん、下品です。そういうの好きなの。
Apologies! Here, I'll give you some caramel, so behave yourself and wait by the catapult.
キャラメル？
Open your mouth. Here. Do you like it? Here, I'll give this to you, so go and stand by now.
ありがとう、一郎。
Looks like caramel tames lizards the same way sugar cubes tame bears in the circus. Very interesting.
寝袋とマットを持ってきましたわよ。
2 sets of summer bedding will be enough. Put the rest aside.
でも、明け方は寒いですわよ。持ってきなさいな。
If it's cold, we'll just sleep with our coats on. In the worst case scenario, we'll hold together under both our blankets. What's with that look?
エレンさんと二人きりだからって、変な気を起こしてはダメですのよ。
You numpty would take advantage of such an oblivious situation. All that would do is confirm people's negative impression of me. What a pain in the arse.
でも、一応避妊具ぐらいは用意しておいた方が。
Oi, stop taking the piss. If you don't get on with it, the sun's gonna rise. Now, is the catapult ready to launch us?
ウィス！エレンさんも準備できてるっす。いつでも OK っすよ。
Righto. Listen, Carmine, you will be the squad's interim commander while I'm gone, you hear me?
はい！どうして私なんですの？
If I hadn't been here, you would have been appointed commander a long time ago. It's only natural. You should get used to it while you have the chance. My commander's rights have now been transferred to you.
はい！エルマールマッカーマイン、いただきます！
Good. Commander's rights aren't something that can be borrowed temporarily. They have to be officially transferred, or else you will never be the squadron's true commander in the case I don't return. Even though I'm going on a reconnaissance mission, it's a necessary ritual when I'll be away from the squadron for a while. The container with the supplies weighs about 700 kilos, and our equipment adds another 90 kilos to our total weight. In addition to that, I myself weigh about 82 kilos in my insulated pilot suit and with my oxygen tank on my back. Ellen herself is quite heavy in her wyvern form as well, bringing our total weight to over 3,800 kilos. Even with the catapult, it took a while for us to get any appreciable altitude. The feeling reminded me of being launched from an aircraft carrier. Light aircraft can take off easily by itself, but when it's carrying bombs, lightning protection, and other equipment, you really feel all the weight while rolling down the deck, making you fear you might end up swimming with the fishes. The control stick is fixed in place with cord to prevent pilots from accidentally pulling it from the recoil of the launch. Sometimes pilots panic and pull so hard that the cord snaps. It's absolutely terrifying. Sun is rising.
そうだね。暑くなる前に砂漠は抜けたいね。
If we keep cruising at our current speed, we should be able to cross it within 2 hours, unless you feel like you need to take a kip somewhere.
平気だよ。飛べるよ。それぐらい。
But our load is heavy, you'll need to take a break at some point. Isn't the weight bothering you at all?
ちょっと重いけど平気。
Listen, if an enemy sneaks up on our tail, we'll drop the load and run. Ellen may be the stockiest member of our squadron, but that does make her the heaviest one. Somewhat doubt it's solely due to her ample bosom, but her front and rear weight distribution ratio is about 65 to 35. In terms of cruising abilities and cargo capacity, Mori is just as capable, and she's more maneuverable to boot. But Mori takes a long time to recover from flat spins and tail spins, probably because she struggles to visually reorient herself. Since Ellen only has one eye, she relies less on her vision when she flies, making her a more stable ride. She can carry out most special maneuvers despite her weight, which makes her the most suitable candidate for long-range flights when there's a risk of being attacked.
ねえ、一郎。
What?
退屈だよ。なんかお話しして。
Again? Oh, mine, but, Ellen seems to be the type of lass to get drowsy if you're not talking to her non-stop. May sound like a joke, but it wasn't uncommon to encounter her type in the Navy. Once heard a story from a telegrapher who had ridden in the back of a two-seater plane. After a long silence, he drowsily mentioned to the pilot how comfy their heated flight suits were. But the pilot had already fallen asleep, so they went down into the freezing ocean. I've had many opportunities to ride Ellen, and she has fallen asleep mid-flight twice as of now. We had to wake up really early this morning after all. Do you want to practice some compass turns if you're getting sleepy?
それよりお話が聞きたい。
Not sure what I should talk about, though. You want to hear about that one time I ate lizard sashimi on a tropical island, or did I already tell you that one?
鶏さんを焼いて食べたお話も、イノシシさんを食べた話も聞いたよ。
I only ever want to talk about food.
それが一番幸せなお話だから。
How about you tell me a story today?
私の
I rarely know anything about you besides what's written in your record.
面白い話じゃないよ。
I won't force you to talk about anything you'd rather not mention.
そういうわけじゃないけど。私はね、死んだお母さんから生まれたんだよ。
Takes me a moment to process what you just said. Maybe due to how casually she said it. Still impressive to tell me more about her past, which can be summarized as follows. Ellen was born about 290 years ago. At the time, the military rule of the Whistler Army that was enforced after the Great War 600 years ago was growing more brutal than ever, with local landowners and nobility increasingly becoming victims of the bloody regime. Amidst the conflict and chaos, Ellen was born from the corpse of an expecting mother who had just become the latest victim of a Whistler soldier. Since Ellen can transform into a wyvern, I had already surmised that she must be of noble blood. But since Ellen herself has no memory of her family, and because all official record of her now abolished nobility system were burned after the war was lost, there's no way to confirm her lineage. This is just my personal speculation upon what I know, but it seems likely that her family were landlords who fell victim to Whistler's massacre in order to drive them from their land and rob them of everything they had. The only survivor was Ellen, as she emerged from her pregnant mother's torn stomach. If she was cut from her mother's womb as an undeveloped fetus, that would certainly explains some of the strange quirks she exhibits in her day-to-day life. Children like her are usually fated to die together with their mothers, but Ellen was saved thanks to one Captain Zamel Zak of the official Arcgene army, which was dispatched to the area at the time. The captain, who had lost his wife and daughter in the war, could not bring himself to abandon the little whelp he found on the battlefield. He named her Eleanor after his late daughter and raised her as if she were his own. He was told that too much time had passed between the whelp's forced birth and her resuscitation, that because she hadn't been breathing for so long she wouldn't make it. But she proved them all wrong and grew up to be a healthy, strong dragon. She grew up so quickly it was almost frightening. Captain Zack made full use of his position and authority to make sure that Ellen could always eat her fill. I've heard that if you're full all the time, your stomach expands, which only increases your appetite. It might be what caused Ellen to grow so tall and voluptuous as she did. The captain must have felt as if his beloved daughter had been reborn. Nothing made him happier than observing Ellen's rapid growth every day. It must have been like a dream to him. However, his happiness did not last long. Due to the nature of his work, Ellen's foster father often moved from place to place. He had no family to entrust the young girl to, and the orphanages were already overcrowded with war orphans during those times. So while he knew it wasn't a great environment for a child to grow up in, he brought her with him as he traveled along the front lines of war. After years of moving between battlefields, Ellen had grown into a mature young woman. Then, one day, she was assaulted by a drunk soldier, a member of her foster father's platoon. Afterwards, he went to sleep in a drunken stupor, not realizing he had gone too far. But when he woke up, he remembered what he had done. Fearing the consequences, he gave Ellen some money in exchange for her silence. Ellen herself didn't quite understand what just had happened to her, so when the soldier suddenly started throwing money at her, a spark lit up in her eyes. She'd earned money. It was the first money she'd ever had, and she didn't even have to kill anybody to get it. In her foster father's line of work, money was earned by fighting, so Ellen had thought that if she could obtain money by killing others... So Ellen had thought that you could only obtain money by killing others. She was shocked to learn that there were other methods to obtain it, which made her happy. That night, Ellen snuck out of the encampment to go into town, money in hand, and ate her fill of meat. It was the most delicious meal she'd ever had. She learned just how satisfying it was to buy food with the money she earned herself. It filled not just her stomach, but her heart as well. Ellen had received a lot of praise for her accomplishments growing up, but being able to earn her own money and buy her own food must have tricked her into feeling like she was a real grown-up. After that day, she started spending the nights with different men every day in exchange for money. At first, she would simply invite one of them into her tent and satisfy his desires. Then another soldier heard rumors of her services and started requesting them. Then another, and another. In the end, she developed relations with all the members of the platoon, and it became a regular occurrence that she serviced many of them at once. But those days didn't continue for very long. One night, after Ellen had been obtaining 6 men at the same time, Captain Zack saw them leaving her tent. It wasn't common for women to bring soldiers into their tents. The captain was certainly no stranger to the practice, having partaken in such services in the past, though he refrained from such ever since adopting his daughter. He was aware that his men were growing wary of his lack of cheer, but he thought he could balance it out by being lenient with their nightly escapades. That night, the soldiers were acting strange. They averted their gaze when he tried to look them in the eye. They scuttled off as if they had something on their conscience. With a sinking feeling in his heart, he walked to his daughter's tent and grabbed a curtain in front of the entrance, yanked it aside in one violent motion. Inside the tent, he found his dear daughter sitting on the ground in a disheveled daze, clutching some money in her hand, with a big grin on her face. Surely it must have been incredibly difficult for him to accept reality. She called out to him with an innocent smile. He wished it were some kind of mistake or a nightmare that he had yet to wake up from. But the scene playing out in front of his eyes was unmistakably real. He was furious that anyone had dared to do such vulgar things to an innocent and sincere girl like his daughter. Nothing could soothe his anger. Within a moment he made his decision. In a furious rage he grabbed his sword and stomped towards his subordinate's tent. He didn't have the patience to listen to any of their excuses. He had thought of his subordinates as family, trusting him to have his back and both in and out of battle. But now they had betrayed him. Just couldn't understand why this had to happen. Why had the gods allowed such a thing to happen? No words could stop the captain. His only solace in those difficult times had been destroyed in an instant. His subordinates groveled at his feet and begged for their lives, but he did not hear them. He mercilessly slaughtered all 31 of them, sparing not a single member of his platoon. Ellen merely watched on in shock, stunned to see her father soaked in the blood of his comrades. The only thing she could do was cry, fearing that he had gone insane. His hands that had held her so gently when she was little were now dyed red in blood. Captain Zack saw that his beloved daughter looked like she was about to cry. He reached out for her to try to comfort her. Instead, she gasped in fear. Plastered on the innocent girl's face was an expression of pure terror. Seeing Ellen like that, Captain was overcome by an intense sense of shame at his irrational anger. An indescribable feeling spread throughout his chest, and the pain of living was too much to bear. He left the camp without saying a word and walked into the forest. There he committed suicide by disemboweling himself. Ellen, now completely alone on the front lines, continued traveling with the army to earn her living. But 3 years after that incident, she gained the ability to transform into a wyvern. It happened the day after she'd gotten into a scuffle with the high-ranking general who had visited her as a customer, who stabbed her in the eye with a knife. She was admitted to a simple field hospital. When her high fever broke the next morning, she suddenly transformed. The medic who had been looking after her said that the bacteria must have gotten into her eye when she was stabbed, causing an intense fever while she fought the infection of her brain. The abnormally high fever activated the cells within her body that are responsible for wyvern transformations, awakening her powers. After awakening, she continued working as an army prostitute, but the fact that she could transform meant that she was able to make herself useful in battle as well. The one who discovered her talent and scouted her for the wyvern troop under the guise of conscription was Captain Petrushka Marlin, her current squadron captain. At the time, Petra's squadron still belonged to the official Archean army, which was cooperating with Baraul. Squadrons had to be formed by scraping together the surviving members of annihilated units from both armies. Strong-willed Edelin survived several losses and troop reorganizations. However, despite her best efforts, the squadrons she was assigned to kept being annihilated by the overwhelming power of Whistler's air forces at the northern border of the Principality. When the official army barely had enough troops left to reorganize into new squadrons, many of the survivors decided to join Baraul instead. So Ellen was taken in by Petra. Together they formed current 384th Wyvern Squadron. Other than that sing-song tone of voice, that story wasn't very uplifting. Everybody has their own story. It also goes for lizards, it seems. Ellen may not be a very good storyteller, so a lot of details were lost on me. Despite her shortcomings, her story has given me better insight into her as a person. The more hardships one faces, the more one matures. There's a proverb that says, the boughs that bear most hang lowest. The boughs that bear most hang lowest. But I can't help but wonder if Ellen's load is too heavy for her to carry. Isn't it heavy? Righto. Your story strengthens my resolve to put an end to this war in a way that will allow people like her to live out the rest of their lives with a smile. After that, we stopped talking about the past, or anything really, and we simply flew the rest of our route while taking several breaks when needed. We had a scare somewhere along the way when we spotted something that looked like an enemy cargo ship. I don't know if the crew was aware of our identity, but the ship seemed to send us some sort of signal with flashing lights. There was no way for us to decipher their code. In a hurry, I took my own heliograph out of my kit and signaled, in the Imperial Navy's code, a repeat, please. Naturally, there was no way for the enemy to understand my code either. After receiving the incomprehensible signal, the airship again sent the same signal from before. They probably were not expecting to run into us here either. Must have been trying to confirm if we were a friendly support unit while checking our location against their charts. They must have eventually realized that we were with the enemy, because soon enough the Whistler ship changed course and disappeared into the clouds. If I were them, I probably would have surmised that any hostile air traffic in this area must be part of the supply line. It meant we should be avoiding any possible conflict, so it was best to pretend that we never saw each other. Kept an eye out to see if we were being followed, but it didn't seem like they called for any reinforcements. I did think it would be better if we turned in for the day earlier than planned, so we landed before the sun set and set up camp for the night in a suitable spot. One of the great things about lizards is that they can transform right back into human forms as soon as they touch down. It transformed with a big poof, leaving behind nothing but a hint of ionized air and some vapor as the 18-meter-long dragon seemingly disappears into thin air. There's no need to hide them in a bunker or camouflage them like you would with an aircraft. That doesn't mean that they're entirely without problems.
お腹減ったよ。一郎。
Your fuel efficiency is terrible. Stop your bloody whinging. I'll have scrams ready soon. But first, we need to protect ourselves against bears. Just like how you need a long loincloth to protect yourself from sharks, you always need to carry a gun to protect yourself from bears. First, you fire the gun into the air to make the bears aware of your presence. That lets them know to avoid you, because they prefer not to run into anyone either.
知ってる。パパのいた部隊でも野営の時はいつもそうしてた。
Here it goes.
誰も打ち返してこないってことは、近くには敵も味方もいないってこと？
There might be hunters shooting game around here, but they wouldn't harm us, so we can't ignore them. Let's put up the tent before it gets dark.
じゃあ私、ご飯の用意する。
Don't burn the rice, okay?
わかった。
While Ellen gives off the impression that she can't even tie her own shoelaces, she's a skilled cook. She must be used to cooking in the field since she has been with the military for so long. She's almost entirely self-sufficient. She knows which plants are edible, and if we're near the ocean or a river, it doesn't take her long to catch some fish. In the mountains, she sometimes catches rabbits and other small animals. While etiquette and discipline are important in the military, the ability to forage in the field is almost just as important. In that sense, Ellen is an exemplary soldier. By the time the sun sets, we have finished putting up our tent and laying out our bedding. And the scents of cooked white rice and miso hot pot drift into the air.
一郎！ご飯できたよ！
Right, I'm coming over. This looks great.
前に一郎が美味しいって言ってくれたから、頑張って作ったよ。
Rice turned out pretty good too.
お米は煮るのはいつもだけど、炊くのはまだ慣れてないから。
Looks great, let's see.
はい、いただきます。
It's as good as it looks.
一郎は誰が何を作っても美味しいって言うよね。
Pilots get to eat 3 meals a day, but that doesn't go for everybody. I try to remind myself to be grateful for that privilege before every meal.
他人の作ったご飯なら何でも美味しいの？
I wouldn't say I'd pick it for my last meal, but your food reminds me of home, so it puts me at ease.
そっか。よかった。私ね、夢があるんだ。
Oh?
私ね、将来、小さな料理屋さんやりたいな。そのために、軍にもらったお金はほとんど貯金してるんだよ。
So yeah, if anything happens to her, I will personally find where the people live and end them. I kind of really like Ellen. I don't know why. She's adorable.
娼婦をやってた頃からお金を貯めてたから、もうだいぶ貯まってるんだよ。
Your business will be great if you do end up opening a restaurant.
レース？
Like a mess hall. If you open one near a naval port, you'll get lots of rich sailors dropping their cash at your place when they're on shore leave. Business will be booming in no time.
お店は小さくていいんだよ。だってその方が食べている人の笑顔が見られるし、パパと二人で食べていけるだけ稼げるお店があれば、それでよかったんだけどな。
Dad, huh?
パパがね、昔言ってくれたの。エレンは料理が上手だなって。将来はいいお嫁さんになるなって。でもね、私はバカだから、きっと誰もお嫁さんにはもらってくれないから、お料理のお店を始めようって思ったのね。だから、お店を始めるお金をいっぱい貯めなきゃって思って、頑張ったんだよ。私がお店を始めれば、パパだっていっつも嫌だ嫌だって言ってた清掃の仕事をしなくていいでしょ？でもね、 パ、おかしくなっちゃった。私がいけなかったのかな。
I don't think anybody is to blame other than the war. Well, the first soldier, kinda.
やだな。戦争。パパも毎日嫌だって言ってた。
That's why I have to put an end to it as quickly as possible.
一郎は？戦争が終わったら何をする人になるの？
Once the war is over and this world is over, I'm going back to my own country to end the war there.
帰っちゃうの？どこに？
It's in the world that I originally came from.
遠い？
I think so. Too far away to even fly to, at least.
そしたらもう会えなくなっちゃう？
Probably not.
そっか。
Stop talking about gloomy stuff.
そうだね。ねえ、一郎、お酒飲もうか。
I was already wondering why your bag looked so stuffed. Did you really sneak some booze with you?
死刑課の放水長がね、これもいるだろうって持たせてくれたんだよ。
Oops. Austria, alcohol, women, and gambling are the solace of every soldier.
ママ、お一つ。
Just remember that we're getting up early tomorrow. I won't tell you to limit yourself to 1 cup, but don't get hammered.
うーい。
No, I said just 1 cup. Sometimes it only takes 1. Some famous commanders are known to strictly forbid the consumption of all alcohol within their ranks. Soldiers getting drunk leads to them being forgetful, being late for inspection, getting into brawls at bars, picking fights with officers, and so on. I can't even count the number of such incidents I've witnessed firsthand. If it's a drunk lad you're dealing with, you can just punch him in the face, but I'm never sure how to deal with drunk lasses.
ねえ、一郎、なんかして遊ぼう。
Now, stop clinging to me. You're absolutely steaming. What do you mean by play anyway?
なんでもいいよ。一郎のしたいこと、なんでもしてあげるよ。私、上手だぞ。すっごく気持ちいいぞ。
This is bad. I can't allow this to develop any further. And it would be the shame of the Navy who rejected her advance and outright. This is a very bad idea, but at the same time, can I really call myself a man if I say no here? That's basically what's happening here. But I also declared to the members of my squadron that I would never take advantage of her. Besides, isn't it Ellen's nightly escapades that ruined her life in the first place? Remembering the grief that her father, Sir Captain Zack, must have felt. This can't be worth abandoning my reason for. Bear with it, Ichinomimori. What's needed right now is the Navy's discipline. Seek to resolve with blood and tears. Your lower body may be crying for release, but you have to bear with this heart-rending grief. Ellen! I have to stop this! Reject her right now, I might hurt her feminine pride. But she shouldn't misunderstand. I'm not implying that she isn't a suitable part or anything. She just needs to understand that I'm destined to die on the battlefield. But one day, she'll surely meet her soulmate. He will be a true man, one that even the late Captain Zack would have acknowledged as being worthy. Or so I desperately try to find the words that will hurt her at the least, while grudgingly resisting the blood rushing to my lower body with the iron discipline of a true Navy man. Stop snoring in that wet. On one hand, I'm glad she's safe here of trouble. But on the other hand, I can't help but feel like I just wasted an amazing opportunity. Any man would be miffed if a woman suddenly just fell asleep after trying her best to seduce him. She looks so innocent when she sleeps. Don't imagine the grief that Captain Zack must have felt witnessing this pure innocent being sullied in front of his eyes. What if he had known that his dear daughter was only selling her services because she wanted to earn enough money to let her dad retire from the armed services? What a tragic story. Compared to that, the grief I feel right now is so light that it's like this gust of wind could blow it away. Wake up, Ellen. Not even sleep can stop you from eating, huh? Suppose up to me to carry this whale of a lass to her bed. She worked hard, ate a fill, had a drink, got rowdy, and then fell asleep. Maybe this is another sign that she really is an exemplary soldier. When a thought hits me, I completely lose the will to wake her up. Pick her up as carefully as if I were carrying a live torpedo, and put her to bed. As she sleeps, blissfully unaware of the internal conflict I just endured, I settle in next to her. I try to get some kip in preparation for tomorrow. But for some reason, I can't seem to calm down. Doesn't turn for a few moments before crawling out of my sleeping bag and doing some stretches. Even try some of the Nishishiki health exercises, which among naval forces pilots are known to induce sleep, but none of them seem to work. Eventually I go back to bed, but it takes quite a while for me to finally fall asleep. The next morning, Ellen is slovenly sprawled out with her breasts hanging out of her top. I shake her awake before preparing some rice balls that are the leftovers from dinner for our simple breakfast. Once we're ready, we depart immediately. How can you still be sleepy after storing up a storm all night? And you had a proper breakfast, didn't you? No, I wouldn't say so. We've already reached the Estpolia front lines. If you keep spacing out like that, you're gonna mess up. Stay on guard. See a small village at 10 o'clock? That must be our waypoint. Wyverns must be an unusual sight in a remote village like this. Like when I was living in the sticks, I used to do the same whenever I saw a plane. Yeah. Alright, Ellen, turn your tail and fly over the village again. Still have that caramel in your bag, right? You can't just drop them in the sand, though. I'll put them in some put them in some of my spare socks. Hey up, kids! Here they come! Fill your boots! You're a grown-up, aren't you? Show some self-restraint. This area is completely cut off from our supply lines. No doubt they're struggling to secure their daily meals. Grown-ups need to restrain themselves. Can't bear to watch while those children go hungry. Don't even think about it. If they bowed down to us and thanked us, you might feel pressured into giving them all the supplies we have. These half-assed acts of kindness are best done in passing. And there's no risk of people begging for more, and you don't have to listen to their annoying words of gratitude either. All you'll give them is the impression that Baruul's wyverns are friendly, and that's good enough. When I was a kid, I once saw a Japanese reconnaissance plane fly over my village and drop caramel and cigarettes for us. Match catch one of the pieces of caramel. In a village struck by poverty, we were incredibly grateful for such luxuries. I never had the intention of tracking down the pilot who dropped his personal supplies just to thank him, but I did resolve to pay it forward and do the same thing for others in the future one day. If you receive kindness from a stranger, you can just pay it forward to another stranger. It's part of the true Navy spirit. After our flyover above the village, we continued our scheduled route to survey the area, and we finally touched down quietly at the Baraul base.
エストポリア戦域第三方面軍特務分隊所属ハーク・ビシャー伍長であります。
Wait a minute, I requested to speak to the commander.
現在は自分が最上級階級であります。
Sorry for doubting you, but really a corporal?
はい。正体が壊滅し、部隊長であった宗賢様は本拠点に交代され、公認小隊指揮官のバリスト伯爵中尉が負傷入室されたため、現在は自分が指揮を任されております。
Not seem to be in deep shit. How's the Third Army holding up, corporal?
どうってことありません。自分たちは高度に訓練されております。
How many soldiers are left on their feet, corporal?
はい。健常兵11名、軽度負傷兵36名、重度負傷兵35名、重度負傷名のうち今朝7名の死亡が確認されましたので、残存兵75名であります。
I heard that you had at least 200 left.
我々75名で 200名分の仕事をすればいいだけのことであります。
That's very commendable. I like your
恐縮であ
spirit.
ります。
You must be hungry. I brought supplies, enough rations to support 200 troops.
ありがとうございます。頂戴いたします。食い物。食い物。なんだ貴様ら、まだ受領中であるぞ、バカ者め。
It's fine. The poor can't afford manners. You can't expect them to work on an empty stomach.
しかし
Just look at them. They're nothing but skin and bones. They look like hungry ghosts straight out of hell. Let them eat. Don't worry. I'll explain the situation to Salkin.
わかりました。振ってよし。食料は傷病兵を優先して配給せよ。食い物、食い物。
What a poor show.
申し訳ありません。軍人の矜持に欠ける姿を。
I mean the condition of the front. There's no need to be shamed.
コーディアが落ちて以来、ここ数日は何も食っておらんのです。それでもしばらくの間は敵の食い残した食料を奪っては賄ってはいたのですが、最近では敵もこちらの窮状を知ってビスケット一つ残さずに撤退する始末でありまして、もし三森に悲壮に来ていただけなければまた餓死者を出すところでありました。
Is there anything else you're short on?
武器弾薬はもちろんですが、圧倒的に医療品が足りておりません。軍医の手元にはヨードチンキしか残っておらず、切られようが被弾しようが何でもヨーチンを塗るぐらいしかできんのです。
Let's see. Really are coping with the dreadful conditions here. I'll make sure to report this when I return to headquarters.
お願いします。
No, wait. I have another gift for you. A wireless radio.
無線の通信機でありますか。
That's right. It doesn't require a phone line. It can provide your signaler with I can provide your signaler with a manual. Then they should be able to operate it right away. Then you can complain to Salkin directly.
文句などとそのようなことは。
If you don't speak your mind, you'll only be left with regrets when you die. Just take the supplies and put them in storage for now before everyone else eats it all.
はい。それでは失礼いたします。
I'd already figured that things weren't going right around here, but it was beyond pear-shaped.
一応
What's wrong? What's with them whining?
なんかね、みんなね、変な目で私を見るんだよ。
They're still hungry, so it only makes sense that a plump, meaty woman like you looks tasty to them right now.
私、食べられちゃうの。
Just take the piss, love. Experienced severe hunger myself, and I wouldn't wish it upon anybody. When a squadron living under such condition is suddenly provided with enough food for 2,200 men, it only makes sense that they scarf it down in no time. When their stomachs are full, their carnal desires start to overcome them next. If a busty woman like Ellen appears in front of them, their skin shivering with sweat, it's no wonder they would want to ravish her. Oh, have you eaten your fill yet?
はい。生き返る心地であります。一郎殿は命の恩人であります。
Rejoice, lad! I've got another gift for you.
何かあるのでありますか？
Indeed, there is a magical item that is bound to rouse the fighting spirit of anybody who lays their eyes on it, a centerfold of our beloved Princess Yukikaze.
おお、雪風様だ。雪風様のお姿が。
He just like fucking pulls out the whole ass like wall scroll, like a fucking life size. Like here you go. One of the lads in my squadron drew. One of my squadrons drew it. He's a real fucking talent. You can see that he's a goddamn boob guy, and by God, praise him for that. Anyways, here you go.
貴様、汚い手で写真に触れるな。独り占めは許さんぞ。
Don't worry, lads. There's plenty for everyone. I brought 200 different ones after all.
これは水着姿ではありませんか。恐れ多い。なんと恐れ多い。貴様、そう言いながらも写真を懐にしまうな。姫様のお姿を玉よけにするつもりか。
I told you, sit down. I actually have some candid photos there too. Look at this.
これは
One of Princess Yukikaze's closest aides, Nago, successfully took that shot. The title of this piece is A Milady Eats a Big Banana.
雪風様がバナナをバナナを 愛らしくも品のあるお口をこんなに大きくお開けになられてバナナを
That sure is one big banana. How about it, lads? Has it raised your fighting spirits, or did it raise something else entirely? Either way, you should put this energy to good use in battle.
自分はもう爆発しそうであります一郎様は神でありますか
Now you're just exaggerating. I suppose it would have made your day even better if I'd brought you some booze, but sadly there was a limit to the amount of cargo we could carry. My
さすがに
apologies.
そこまで贅沢は申しません
酒なら薬用アルコールは飲み尽くしてしまいましたが、工業用のアルコールがまだあります。
You drank the rubbing alcohol?
ちゃんと火で飛ばしてから薄めて飲んであります。
That's not fine at all. If I'd known this, I wouldn't have drank the booze yesterday. Listen, lads, during our surveillance flight today, we confirmed that the route here to get here is safe. A convoy of additional supplies will be sent out here soon, so no more alcohol until it arrives. You hear me?
了解であります
They may say that they've understood, but alcoholics will drink in secret as soon as they get the chance, so I don't think the problem has been solved. In my old squad, there was a guy who was so starved for alcohol that he drank the methanol fuel from his aircraft. The toxicity made him go blind. I do like to have a good drink once in a while, but I don't mean to nag him like a mother, but lads who want to drink themselves to death don't really belong in the army, I think.
一郎、お仕事終わったならもう帰ろうよ。
Righto, sorry for making you wait. Having confirmed that the supply route is safe and having inspected the condition of the troops, Ellen and I leave Estopolia behind.
なんかすごいところだったね。
All places on the front lines are pretty much like that.
知ってるけど、あんまり好きじゃないな。あの空気、人の血の匂いがする。
That smell comes from the field hospital. It's a mixture of blood, pus, feces, and
お
piss.
かしくなった人の匂いだよ。怖いよ。
Don't say that.
もう帰ろう。
Oh yeah, there's one more place we have to
ま
go.
た戦場
No, I'm gonna meet Nago's master. He lives secluded in the deep of the mountains. No whinging. It's like a fucking coin toss on it. Coin toss, yeah, a coin toss on if he's gonna say whining or whinging. If you ask me, it is the main purpose of this trip. Nago's master is probably the most knowledgeable person in this world when it comes to the topic of wanderers from other worlds. At this point, I'm clutching at straws trying to figure out why I ended up in this world and how I can go back to my own. According to the map Naga drew for me, it should be around here.
師匠ってどんな人？怖い人？
I have no idea, but according to Nago, she's quite stubborn and eccentric.
やだな。帰りたいな。
You're pretty shy around strangers, aren't you? Huh?
一郎
I'm fine, it didn't hit me. It seems like somebody just fired a warning shot into the sky.
帰れ！兵隊がこんなところに何をしに来た？
Are you Dr. Mika Croft?
誰だいあんた？
I'm Ichiro Mimuri, Petty Second Officer, Petty Officer, Second Class in the Imperial Naval Air Force. I would like to speak with you. I have an introduction letter from Nago. Gina Nagot.
ジーナかい。懐かしい名前を聞いたね。ついといで。
どうするの？
We follow her, obviously.
ぐずぐずすんじゃないよ。あ、
Whoops. See, she's exactly the kind of person I imagined she'd be.
何せ山奥でね。ろくなもてなしもできないが、茶ぐらいは出すよ。
Please don't mind us. This jam is a gift from Gina.
おー、これはまた。私はこれが好きでね。茶に入れるとたまらなくうまいんだ。今、茶を立ててやろう。あんた、手伝いな。
私？
他に誰がいいんだい？そんだけ胸張らしてんだ。女なんだろ？あうじゃないよ、まったく。こういう時はね、 お手伝いしますって自分から立ち上がるもんだ。
一応。
Go ahead and
ガ
help
ザ
her.
ガザすんじゃないよ。
は
ん？あんたずいぶん背骨が曲がってるね。片目で無意識に左側をかばってるからだよ。まっすぐ歩きな。
Ah, yes, Ellen! The scoliosis dragon!
歩き方で怒られた。
Seems like a difficult person to deal with, but Nugget assured me that she definitely doesn't have any ill intentions. Apparently, she retreated from public life because she didn't want her knowledge and skills to be used for the purpose of supporting a war. If she's intelligent enough to do that, I'm sure she will at least listen to my story.
たく使えない女だね。あんたも、あんなのだけは嫁にもらうんじゃないよ。すぐ泣くし、うっとしったらありゃしない。
Oh, that's as big in mind, do ya?
それで、こんな山奥にまで来て、私みたいな世捨て人に、何？
It's a long story, but first things first, I'm not from this world.
年を取ると耳が遠くなっていけないね。ちょいとデカ父、そこの棚に耳かきがあるから持ってきておくれ。
はーい。
バカだね。あんたが手に持ってんのはスプーンだよ。私、
Whoops. There's no need to tell her that she's an idiot, she's well aware.
なんだい。あんな女の味方すんのかい。若い男ってのはクソだね。父がでかけりゃなんだっていいなら、牛と結婚しな。牛
What a cheeky old bat.
ババアババアと気安く呼んでくれるんじゃないよ。私がババアならあんたはなんだ。このクソガキが。
Seems like there's nothing wrong with your hearing.
あんたが突拍子もないこと言い出すからだろうが。
This letter from Gina explains the details, give it a look.
G がなんだって？
I'm talking about Gina! You're deaf as a bat after all, you old bat!
おー、ジーナかい。懐かしい名前を聞いたね。
Don't tell me she's gone senile, too. When I asked her for her age, she said she's over 700 years old. When I heard that lifespan, the average lifespan of noble dragon is about 800 years. I've heard that the average lifespan of noble dragons is about 800 years, which means she's well in her dotage. And if she's 700, that means she lived through the Great War 600 years ago. Maybe she's even met McGee, that Peri's wonder from another world, in person.
なるほどね。あんたが世界の要石ってわけかい。
What? The keystone of the world?
伝説さ。この世が崩壊に向かいしとき、異世界よりこの世を支える礎となる要石が現れるってね。最初に現れたのが異世界から来た大賢者、マジー・マカリスターさ。
But didn't that McGee become the trigger for the Great War? I'm not sure if you could really call him a savior.
だからこの世界に戦争が必要だったと、そういうことだろうよ。伝染病の流行と同じことさ。この世に人が増えすぎたとなれば、どこからともなく発生して人を減らす。それを神の仕業とするならば、戦争だって神が起こし、
お茶が入りました。
間の悪い子だね。なんで大事な話をしてる時に来るんだい。
一郎、助けて。泣きそう。
Just put the tea on the table and go sit quietly in a corner.
わかった。
バカ！お茶も満足に入れられないのかい。びっくりするぐらい使えないね、この子は。まったく。
Can we continue?
はあ？どこまで話したっけね。
You were saying that wars are inevitable because they're caused by the gods.
ああ、そうそう。まあ、神がいるならって話だけどね。
You're not sure they exist?
少なくとも私は会ったことないね。それに会ったって言ってるやつも、本当に会ったやつなんざいなかったしね。
Can't be. It's a fact that both me and McGee were brought to this world. There's concrete evidence for it. Like my Zero fighter.
いや、そこまでは否定しやしないよ。大賢者マジーだって、物質的な証拠はないにしろ、マジーの頭の中にあった技術は、この世界にはなかったものだしね。 俺、ビスラの連中が600年前から五章大事に使ってる複製。なんつったかね。あの船で使ってる集積回路だって、マジーが異世界から来た証拠ってやつさ。
Isn't that plenty of evidence that God really exists?
いると信じるやつにはいる。という答えでは不完全かね。
That's the same as saying that they don't exist.
それが神ってもんだろう。それとも、必ずいなければいけない理由でもあるのかい？
Yeah. It's a God that brought me into this world and I need them to return me to where I came from.
かの大賢者マジーも、あんたと同じように、元の世界に帰るが口癖だったと聞いたことがあるね。そして、この世界での役目を終えたマジーは、元の世界に帰った。
Great, that's what I wanted to hear. How did he manage to go back?
だから、この世界であんたの役目が終われば、帰れるんじゃないのかい？
My work. What'd that be exactly? What was I brought here in the first place?
それこそ私の知ったこっちゃないよ。神様にでも聞いてみるんだね。
You know where they are?
どこにでもいて、どこにもいやしない。
I didn't come here to exchange riddles with you.
あんたが必死なのは分かったから。そう八つ当たりするもんじゃないよ。
But in the end, I didn't learn anything new.
だから、神に聞けって言ってるだろ。
How am I supposed to ask them if nobody knows where they are?
これはね、私がまだ子供の頃に聞いた話だから、確実とは言えないが、何でも昔は神と話せる機会があったそうだよ。
You mean like telephone?
元の世界に帰りたがったマジーが、神と話をするために作った機械らしいね。マジーはその機械を使って神と交渉し、元の世界へ帰ったって話さ。
Where is that machine?
さーてね。戦争で焼けちまったって話もあれば、ビスラの宝物庫に今も大事に保管されているって話もある。それがどんな大きさで、どんな姿でどう使うのかも、今じゃ記録には残っていないしね。
I see.
ま、戦争に勝ったら、ビスラの城を家探しでもして探してみるんだね。もし見つかったら、あたしにも連絡しておくれ。
Thank you.
帰るのかい？
You told me enough. It was merely a personal visit. I can't afford to leave my soldiers alone for too long.
そうかい。土産の一つも持たせてやりたいところだが。
The information you've given me is a valuable gift in and of itself. I realize it's awfully rude of me to suddenly visit without any advance notice.
この辺はビスラの兵も多い。気をつけて帰りな。
I'll report to you again if I obtain any new information. Ichiromimori over and out.
お邪魔しました。
あんたは背骨を直しな。尻尾を右に振らないとまっすぐ飛べないのは背骨のせいだよ。
はーい。ねえ、一郎。私の背骨、曲がってる？
That you mentioned it, maybe it is.
左をかばってるから右に曲がる？でも、尻尾は右に振って飛んでるんだから、左に曲がってるんじゃないのかな？
Yeah, you're right.
一郎、私の話聞いてる？
I am, what is it?
聞いてないじゃない。なんかぼーっとしてるよ。私にぼーっとしてるとか言われたら終わりだよ。
Like, come on! I'm supposed to be the one spacing out here! Get your shit together! Is that something you're proud of?
ねえ、一郎。
What?
そんなに国に帰りたいの？
Yeah, I have to go back no matter
お
what.
国の戦争を終わらせるために？
Yep.
私はね、お国のためとかよくわからないよ。生まれた時から移動生活が当たり前で、故郷っていうか自分の国っていう思いが薄いんだね、きっと。だから愛国心って言われてもよくわかんない。みんなが生まれた国に縛られてるのが 不思議で仕方がないよ。
I understand you might feel that way because you have no attachment to any place in particular. You know, plenty of people who don't really want to return to their homeland even if after they've been out at sea for months. Those types usually don't care about material things or possessions. There's nothing that they can't live without. As long as they can find some kind of substitute, that's enough for them. That doesn't only ring true for things. To them, their country is just as replaceable. At least that's how I felt when listening to them.
一郎の国はいい国？
I'm not sure. It's a war-torn country right now, but surely it'll become a nice, peaceful place once the war is over.
私は戦争のない場所で生きたことがないから、平和な国が羨ましいな。
So the world will become a better place once the war is over here. Once the war here is over
こ
too.
の国の戦争が終わったら、じゃあ次は一郎の国の戦争を終わらせないとね。
Righto.
私も行こうかな。
What?
一郎とずっと一緒にいたいよ。帰るところがないなら、私が一郎の帰る場所になってあげる。頑張って働いてお家も買うよ。ね、一緒に住もうよ。
I don't even think about it. Nothing good comes out of marrying a military man. And weren't you going to open an eatery in this world once there's peace?
この世界の戦争が終わっても、一郎の戦争は終わらないのね。きっと、ずっと。
I've no idea why she might have taken a liking to me, but apparently Ellen wants to be with me. That said, she doesn't seem to have the courage to ask me to take her with me outright. She's not brazen enough to follow me without permission. That's who Eleanor Zack is. I still don't dislike her, and I'm very grateful for her presence here. I'm afraid I can't meet her expectations. Let's head back to headquarters for now. Everybody's waiting for our return.
速度を上げる？
Righto, there's no need to follow the supply route either. Let's take the quickest way back before it gets dark.
帰ろ帰ろ。お腹が空いたぞ。
Hungry again? You do stuff yourself, don't you? You sure do stuff yourself, don't you?
ビールも欲しいぞ。
I'll trade you the one once we're back, so hang in there until then. Might be a machine that would let me talk to the gods. But in any case, it's necessary to end the war as soon as possible. Though I suppose I already knew that. Information I obtained today hasn't changed that single truth. I'm not even trying to pronounce that one. Oh, would you look at that?
セーブするぞ。
And just like that. You know what? I'm calling this part the Shorty and the Chonky. Since since chapter 4 was mainly about those two. Anyway, so yeah, we have officially entered the first route. So I'm gonna call it I'm gonna call it here for the day. Let's just go, you know what, fuck it, let's go back to the title screen, as always. Listen to the really good opening that I've downloaded at this point, because it's really fucking good and I fucking adore it, and it's just so fucking fantastic. And we're 52% done. So yeah, lovely. Anyways, what? How dare you? The save showed me that it was finished. Let me load this again, just to be sure.
続きからじゃな。
Yukikaze. Why is this still at... Oh, it's probably at 98%. Because it's still discounting the story beats. Like, that would lead to the choices leading to the other 3 routes. That makes sense. I'm retarded. Anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed this one, and see you next time. I'll actually try to stream tomorrow. watch me not stream again because I'm fucking terrible and suck at everything I do. Anyways, hope you guys enjoyed this one. See you next one. Bye.